Chapter 778. What should I do? Chen Hao's mind raced. No matter how much he urged the primary outline of the great Tao to devour, his speed of devouring and refining was overtaken by Hu Mainyang and the devil fetus who had suddenly joined forces. If this continued, Chen Hao would definitely die. The only way is to devour and refine faster. Let's do it. Boom. At this moment of life and death, Chen Hao threw caution to the wind. He gave up on his defenses and used all his strength to devour and refine Hu Mainyang's soul. This was a gamble that Hu Mainyang would not choose to die with him. Originally, both of them had split their energy to prevent the other from fighting to the death. Even when Hu Mainyang was in danger, they did not dare to do so. But now, Chen Hao is going crazy. What? Hu Mainyang exclaimed. This lunatic, why is he not afraid of death? Boom, boom, boom. All of Chen Hao's mind, all of his strength, was used to crazily attack, devour, and refine. In the state of thoughtless tranquility, the general outline of the great Tao rumbled, and the speed of devouring and refining rapidly increased. At this time, Hu Mainyang and the devil fetus, who had used all their trump cards and could not become stronger, were very nervous. If the crazy Chen Hao's devouring and refining speed surpassed theirs, the only thing they could do was to die with Chen Hao. But just as Chen Hao's devouring and refining speed was about to catch up to Hu Mainyang and the devil fetus, it stopped. It could not grow any further. Hu Mainyang and the devil fetus heaved a sigh of relief. Hee. Chen Hao, I didn't expect you to be so crazy. Your soul and will are indeed very strong. But it's a pity that it's still lacking. Now it's just delaying your death. Chen Hao was desperate. He had given up on his defense. He thought that he could surpass Hu Mainyang's devouring and refining speed. He would stop when he reached the same level. Otherwise, if Hu Mainyang fell into true despair, she would definitely choose to die with him. Chen Hao only wanted to reach the same level and then think of a way out. But now, they couldn't even reach a stalemate. Hee, little fellow, I told you to cooperate with me long ago, but you didn't listen. Now that I've become one with this shameless girl, do you regret it now? Ha. You two bitches, Chen Hao said angrily. His mind, however, was frantically working. He was looking for an opportunity to change his fate in the Soul Palace. The general outline of the Great Tao, the 3,000 Great Taos, various inheritances, and all his past experiences flashed rapidly in his mind. He had no reason to give up until the last moment. But there was no effective way. No, I can't be killed by these two monsters. If I can break through to the 10th level of the Red Dust Heart Sutra in the remaining time, there is still hope. Or perhaps he could master the great devouring technique. But that was impossible. Only the Red Dust Heart Sutra is left. Kid, no matter how much of a genius you are, the time you have left is too short. Who? Chen Hao was startled. An aged voice suddenly rang out from within his soul palace. However, shortly after, Chen Hao determined who it was from the voice and asked in surprise, Senior, it's you? Yes, it's me. You have the ultimate technique of the 3,000 Great Taos, but you don't know how to make use of it. It's good that you can find your own Tao, but you don't care about it, even though you have the ultimate techniques of your ancestors that have been passed down for billions of years. Senior, it's not that I don't care about it, but that I don't have the time. Chen Hao said. All along, Chen Hao had been in a nervous state. He had never stopped moving. There was no possibility of him calming down and cultivating in seclusion for a long period of time. As for the 3,000 Great Taos, any one of them required him to truly calm down and cultivate in seclusion for a long period of time. Only then would he be able to learn the ultimate techniques. It was not something that could be grasped in a short period of time. Chen Hao had already made plans. The abnormal space-time laws in the primitive secret realm were an opportunity. After he had settled down, he would slow down and truly cultivate in seclusion. Old Man Strand of Consciousness originally wanted to see if you could fuse the two great Taos together. Now, it seems that I won't be able to see it. As for the final power, Old Man will help you suppress the God's consciousness. God's consciousness. God's consciousness is what you call the demon fetus. the evil consciousness left behind by the peak mighty figures of the Grand Mist Supremacy realm after they die. If they gain sentience, they will be called God's consciousness. However, the one you encountered was only in its embryonic form. It doesn't even have a 10,000th of its peak strength. All right, that girl isn't an evil person. The demon fetus is the original sin. Senior, what do you mean? Illusion is reality. Reality is illusion. In fact, when you thought that you had destroyed the God's consciousness, whom Mainyang had already entered its illusory reality. However, she didn't know it. This is also the 10th level of the Red Dust Heart Sutra. It's beyond the imagination of the two of you. This Red Dust Heart Sutra is indeed a supreme technique. How can that be? I clearly probed Mainyang's memories. Otherwise, how could the illusion be reality? When you destroyed the God's consciousness, it directly changed Mainyang's fundamental memories. You, on the other hand, were indirectly affected because you probed her memories. All right, you'll understand after I help you destroy the God's consciousness. I hope you can take care of old man's only disciple, Panlong. If possible, pass on that old man soul technique to Panlong as well. Of course, you can also pass on my legacy technique to those two little fellows. Extreme Tao might be their final destination, but if they don't try it, they'll end up like old man. It'll become a lifelong regret. Prepare yourself. Senior, old man is just a strand of consciousness. It'll dissipate sooner or later. It's worth it to be able to help you in the end. Prepare yourself. Chen Hao was grateful. He knew that this was just the light of the legacy memory that Pan Long gave him after his return. However, he didn't expect that the weakened consciousness would still exist and enter his mind along with the legacy memory, becoming the only thing he could rely on at this moment. Sensing the weak consciousness from this strand of consciousness, Chen Hao didn't hesitate any longer. He divided his attention and once again guarded the symbiotic soul contract with Mainyang. Huh? You're guarding it again? Hee. Do you think we'll die together with you? The devil fetus's pleasant voice was full of ridicule and relaxation. Chi. It was also at this moment that the divine consciousness left behind by the extreme Tao powerhouse suddenly turned into a wisp of fluctuation. It was very, very weak, as if a gust of wind could blow it away. However, it was precisely this weak fluctuation that imperceptibly penetrated Chen Hao's soul palace. Immediately, it easily broke through the violent attack and devouring force formed by Mainyang and the devil fetus and directly integrated into the two's combined soul imprint. Without any warning, a dazzling light as bright as the sun suddenly bloomed. There was no energy fluctuation or coercion, only light. It seemed like a light that could purify all evils in the world. The devil fetus, who was still proud of himself, suddenly let out a horrifying scream. Chi! Chi! Immediately, her scream came to an abrupt end. Mainyang was shocked to find that the devil fetus imprint that she had formed with her for all eternity had returned to nothingness in an instant, not even leaving behind a trace of its aura. What happened? What's going on? What's that light? At this moment, Mainyang's mind was filled with all kinds of questions, but more than that, she was shocked. The release of her nature, the experience just now, and the sudden fluctuation of the memories in her soul. Instantly, Mainyang broke out in a cold sweat. Fourth update. Looking for recommendation votes and monthly votes. Thank you. Chapter 779. Chen Hao, it wasn't me. Mainyang said anxiously. Are you afraid? Why don't you continue to be arrogant? Chen Hao said sternly as he continued to devour her soul. It really wasn't me. I won't do it. I said that even if I can't succeed, I'll fulfill your wish. It's impossible for me to succeed and kill you. You have to believe me. Why should I believe you? I was almost killed by you. Why should I believe you? Chen Hao said arrogantly, seemingly unmoved. The devil fetus used the 10th level of the Red Dust Heart Sutra to make me lose my sense of self. If you don't believe me, then kill me. Mainyang said bitterly as she endured the pain of her soul being devoured. Not to mention Chen Hao. Even Mainyang herself felt that this reason was ridiculous, because everything was too natural, so natural that there were no flaws. Her nature changed, her memory changed, and the result was a world of difference at this point, whom Mei-nyang gave up resisting. Forget it. I won't lower myself to your level. However, Hu Mei-nyang didn't expect that when she gave up resisting and prepared to die, Chun Hao would magnanimously stop. Remove the soul symbiotic contract. Don't force me to do it myself. Chun Hao said, whether you believe me or not, I still want to say that I'm not that kind of person. I don't need your pity. Chi. Although Chun Hao stopped devouring her, Hu Mei-nyang didn't feel any joy, because Chun Hao's cold words showed that he didn't believe her at all. She didn't need to be merciful and soft-hearted. She directly floated the imprint of her soul residence to Chun Hao's soul. Hiss! Chun Hao sent out a stream of soul force into Hu Mei-nyang's soul imprint. Without encountering any resistance, he controlled her soul imprint, directly synchronizing it with his own. The soul symbiosis contract between the two of them was cancelled and immediately stepped out of Hu Mei-nyang's mind. Although Chun Hao knew what was going on, he still stared at Hu Mei-nyang after returning to his body and asked, "You won't attack me again, right? If I can comprehend the next few layers of the Red Dust Heart Sutra, I'll fulfill my promise and teach them to you. Or you can look for me at any time, and we can practice dual cultivation." Hu Mei-nyang didn't look at Chun Hao again. She took a deep breath, looked into the distance, and waved her hand. Rumble, rumble, rumble. In the instant that Hu Mei-nyang waved her hand, the 1,000-mile seal collapsed. Mountains collapsed, and the earth cracked. Rubble flew everywhere, and dust covered the sky, as if venting the loneliness and desolation in Hu Mei-nyang's heart. She had already said what she needed to say. Whether he believed her or not, she didn't want to explain anymore. It's over. Chun Hao looked up at the sky and muttered. Then he let out a long howl. Rumble. A loud and vigorous howl resounded through the 9 heavens like the descent of thunder, and a vast and terrifying essence, energy, and spirit shot into the sky like a true dragon leaving its lair or a ferocious tiger leaving its cage. Wind and clouds gathered, heaven and earth rumbled, Tao laws surged, multicolored light was born, and auspicious chi was vast and mighty. 1,000 miles, 10,000 miles, 100,000 miles, 1,000,000 miles. At this moment, countless cultivators from various galaxies looked at the void where Chun Hao was. Their faces were full of shock and horror. Huff! The howl lasted for a full 5 minutes. Then, Chun Hao breathed a sigh of relief and stopped. His mind was clear, and his spirit was refreshed. The suffocation of more than 20 years had been completely vented. It was as if he had been reborn. His spiritual altar became more crystal clear, and the enhancement of his soul power made his senses sharper. Even the scenery in front of him had undergone subtle changes. Chun Hao knew that this was a transformation of the soul and state of mind. Congratulations, Master! Old God only dared to speak at this time. It's just a narrow escape from death. Old God, you mother of Asterisk Cur, this is the only time. If you dare to make decisions for me in the future without telling me the truth, don't blame me for being rude. Chun Hao said sternly. Although this could be considered a blessing in disguise, Chun Hao did not want to experience it a second time. If Old God had not dropped the ball, he would not have been suffocated for more than 20 years. As for Hu Mei-nyang, although Chun Hao knew what was going on, he did not want to get close to this woman. Her character dictated. She was too smart and too powerful. She could play him in the palm of her hand at any time, especially when she almost did him. This made Chun Hao, who was arrogant in his bones, very unhappy. Cough, cough. Master, I won't do it again. I finally realized that you humans are never something that we, the weapon spirits, can understand. The Mortal Heart Sutra is really powerful. Old God had already understood what was going on from Chun Hao's shared memories. From Hu Mei-nyang's memories, Chun Hao knew that the white jade crystal tablet was created by the Misty Rain Tower's founder, who was on the verge of death. He had collected countless supreme materials and condensed them with supreme divine ability. He had also left behind the Misty Rain Tower's supreme inheritance on it, and suppressed his evil thoughts within it. The reason why she did this was to prevent her disciples from cultivating from the 10th to the 13th level of the Mortal Heart Sutra when they were not in the right realm. According to the handwritten instructions left by the founder of the Misty Rain Tower, the last 4 levels of the Mortal Heart Sutra could only be cultivated after reaching the peak of the Grand Mist Supremacy realm. From the 10th level onwards, there was a qualitative change. This was also the reason why she used her evil thoughts to prevent her disciples from comprehending the 10th level, unless one state of mind was beyond the realm of evil thoughts. Otherwise, they would be possessed by the devil and become a peerless devil who harmed the world. This was because if one state of mind was not in the right realm, they would be trapped in the 7 emotions and 6 desires, unable to extricate themselves. They would completely lose themselves, and all kinds of desires would be magnified infinitely. It was easy to enter the world, but difficult to leave it. The closer one reached the end of the Mortal Heart Sutra, the deeper one would fall into the 7 emotions and 6 desires. If one did not have the corresponding state of mind, they would not be able to extricate themselves from it. One could imagine how terrifying that would be. Even the founder of the Misty Rain Tower could not sever his Tao and sever his evil thoughts from cultivating the Mortal Heart Sutra. Humaingyang being infected by the devil fetus was a precedent. Humaingyang took a deep look at Chun Hao before she turned into a ray of light and left at lightning speed. It's been more than 20 years. They should be fine, right? I wonder what the outcome of the battle back then was. After a while, Chun Hao withdrew his aura and blended into the world. He also flew into the sky and headed toward the depths of the heavens with an agitated heart. A few days later, help! I'm Lan Feng, a disciple of the divine palace of the human race. Whoever saves me will be rewarded with an ancient divine artifact. Even if you scream yourself hoarse, no one can save you. Stop and hand over all your treasures. Maybe we'll consider letting you live. T. I'd rather be destroyed than let you outsiders get any of my treasures. Save me, you bunch of trash. Even if you kill me, Ao Tian will not let you go. He will kill you all in the world. Chapter 780. What a joke. Proud heaven is strong, but there are only a few of them. Do you think they'll hunt us down for you? Besides, Proud Heaven's members have been gone for a long time. They've already entered the land of inheritance. What's there to be afraid of? Do you know who I am? Aren't you Lan Feng, a disciple of the human temple? Then do you know who gave Proud Heaven boss Chun Hao the Tao manifestation Immortal Fruit Core? I'm Lan Feng. Do you know the relationship between me, Lan Feng, and boss Chun Hao? We're master and disciple. Why do I hear that you and Chun Hao have a grudge? And that's why Chun Hao stole your Tao manifestation Immortal Fruit Core. You don't know shit. Chun Hao did have a grudge with me at the beginning, but after that, he gave me treasures to Chun Hao. Also, Chun Hao taught me his peerless sword art and undying sword Tao. Were you all blind in the previous battle? Didn't you see how strong my peerless sword art was? Lan Feng shouted as he fled on his firestorm wheels. Boss, it really does look a little similar. Back then, I saw Chun Hao slaughtering our clan's army. Every move he made was aimed at our vital points. It was so ingenious that there was no trace of it. It's indeed very similar to the sword technique Lan Feng used to fight us. One of the dozens of cultivators who were chasing after Lan Feng said. So what? Even if Chun Hao was really related to him, he didn't even know if Chun Hao was dead or alive. Most likely, Chun Hao had already perished together with Humaingyang of the human race. What's there to be afraid of? Even if he's not dead, we'll just kill him and hide. The 9 restrictions will end in a few years, and then we'll be teleported back to where we came from. Even if we close our eyes, we won't run into him again. What's there to be afraid of? Chun Hao flew along for a few days, becoming one with heaven and earth. Along the way, he encountered quite a few cultivators and also learned a bit of news about what had happened in recent years. That news filled Chun Hao with excitement, warmth, and pride. Proud of Proud Heaven, his women, his brothers, and his reputation in the primal secret realm. They were going to make Proud Heaven's name resound throughout the world. Follow boss's orders and fight for the human race. Chun Hao did not know the purpose at all. This made Chun Hao blush with shame, and even his balls hurt. However, Chun Hao knew why his brothers and sisters were doing this. However, Chun Hao, who had just put down all his belongings, never imagined that he would meet the son of destiny, Lan Feng, again here today. What was even more unexpected was that Lan Feng was actually being hunted down and in a dangerous situation. What was even more unexpected was that Lan Feng had actually used his name to intimidate foreign cultivators. Moreover, they were master and disciple. What was going on? Even Chun Hao was confused, especially when he heard the foreign cultivator's words. It seemed like Lan Feng had learned his solitary sword technique and invincible sword intent. Could it be the message I left behind last time? Chun Hao combed through all the details regarding Lan Feng in his mind and locked onto the only possibility. It must be. Back then, in order to disguise myself as an expert, I used the solitary sword technique and invincible sword intent to confuse this guy. I didn't expect them to become Dao marks. Furthermore, this guy's comprehension ability is quite high. He actually managed to comprehend them with just a few words. Damn, he really is the son of destiny. What a pity. Chun Hao, who had become one with heaven and earth, smirked wickedly. He had originally thought that his fate with Lan Feng had come to an end, but now it seemed that it was really an unbreakable fate. They had only been out for a few days, and now they had met again. He. I should be able to get some good stuff, right? There's no hurry. Chun Hao merged into the myriad of things in the heavens and the earth, and he followed the group of Xeno-race experts in a carefree manner. Even though there were many experts at the peak of the initial stage of the heavenly immortal realm amongst them, and they might be more formidable than Chun Hao in terms of true essence alone, Chun Hao believed that he would be able to annihilate these few tens of people with a flick of his finger, and there was utterly no suspense. For more than 20 years, Chun Hao had not refined his true core strength, and his cultivation level was still at the later stage of the Earth celestial stage. However, his Red Dust Heart Sutra, Red Dust Sword Principle, and his soul power after devouring Hu Meinyang were many times more powerful than before. As long as he did not encounter a freakish heaven celestial like Hu Meinyang, no one could stop him. Even his soul power could imprison these guys, let alone his Red Dust Heart Sutra and Red Dust Sword Principle. Boss is right. This guy has so many treasures with him. Just the saint-level runes alone, he has already used 3. This is a person with great providence. His divine rune is already at the end of its flight and does not have much energy left. Go after him with all your might. Yes. Chi. Dozens of mysterious clan cultivators sped up again. D*M. Don't push me. If you push me too far, I will take you down with me. Chi. As expected, the firestorm wheels under Lan Feng's feet suddenly turned into a ray of light and disappeared automatically after exhausting all its energy. In just a few breaths' time, Lan Feng, who was covered in wounds and had consumed a lot of energy, was caught up by the mysterious clan cultivators. Chi. At this moment, a horrible pressure suddenly came from the void in the distance. The sword essence soared into the sky. It was immortal and indestructible. Who dares to hurt my apprentice? A majestic, arrogant, cold, and disdainful voice came from thousands of miles away. It was like a bolt from the blue. Chun Hao. No, Boss Chun Hao. Chun Hao's master. Waha. You are here. I am here to give you treasures. Save me. When Lan Feng heard this voice, his eyes widened to the size of copper bells. After a moment of sluggishness, he suddenly laughed wildly with incomparable excitement, as if he had grasped at a life-saving straw. What? Chun Hao. Killing God. Chun Hao. What a terrifying, indestructible sword essence. This aura, this voice. It is definitely him. I'm sure of it. The mysterious clan cultivator who had said that he had seen Chun Hao turn pale. Boss, run. Run. Chi. As soon as the word left his mouth, he turned into a ray of light and fled with all his strength. Run. Split up and run. Boom, boom, boom. All of them fled like frightened birds. In an instant, they scattered and fled thousands of miles away. However, Chun Hao was confused by the scene in front of him. This was because Chun Hao, who was focused on the mysterious clan cultivators and Lan Feng, did not sense the aura around him at all. Even Chun Hao himself felt that the voice and the sword essence were very similar to him, let alone the other cultivators. Qi, filled with confusion and surprise, Chun Hao instantly released his powerful soul perception. A moment later, thousands of miles away, Chun Hao locked onto an aura. It is her. Chun Hao was speechless. This was an aura that Chun Hao had almost forgotten. It was much stronger than before and had changed a lot. If Chun Hao's soul perception had not improved by many times and the other party's aura and bloodline aura could not be changed, even Chun Hao would have thought that it was someone else. Monday, please recommend me. Thank you. Chapter 781. She took the initiative to save me and even impersonated me. How unexpected. Chun Hao sighed. With a flash of light, Chun Hao quickly arrived near the blue peak. Her expression and appearance were exactly the same, but the moment Lan Feng saw her, he was dumbfounded. Although this Chun Hao had the same appearance and aura as Chun Hao, at such a close distance, this Chun Hao exuded the aura of primordial Yin that only a young girl could possess. This woman was Bailey Ningbing, whom he had not seen for a long time. If you don't want to die, you'd better get out of here. I can't save you with my real strength. I can only impersonate Chun Hao to scare them away. Bailey Ningbing said to Lan Feng, who was staring at her in a daze. We're finished. Lan Feng sat on the ground and said, they planted a seal on me. We've been exposed, seal? What seal? Can't you erase it? If I could, I would have erased it a long time ago. No matter how hard I tried to hide or how far I ran, not only could these bastards catch up with me, they even know what I've been through. We're finished. I'm afraid you're in trouble. The aura of the invincible sword principle is so strong. I didn't expect you to be in the later stage of the earth, celestial stage. Qi. Just as Lan Feng had said, the demonic clan cultivators who had fled in all directions came back aggressively. Other than the direction where Bailey Ningbing had come from, the rest of the demonic clan cultivators were blocked off. In an instant, powerful cultivators filled in the gaps. Ha. Damn it. A woman dares to impersonate Chun Hao. Luckily, there's nothing I don't know with the heavenly talisman. Boss is awesome. This woman's invincible sword principle is very strong. She's also an original body. Even if she doesn't look that good, she's still of the highest quality. Boss, your luck is unparalleled. Ha. Tis TSK. She's still in the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage. There are more and more geniuses in the human race. Her potential must be very strong. Ha. Little girl, show me your true form. If it's not bad, I can take you as my cultivation partner. Qi light streaked across the sky, accompanied by aggressive voices. One after another, the demonic clan cultivators returned. Oof. Do you dare? My boss is in seclusion nearby. Touch a single finger of mine, and he will know. Killing all of you will be as easy as killing dogs. Bailey Ningbing coldly declared. Ha. Don't tell me that your boss is the god of slaughter, Chun Hao. Idiot. Other than members of Proud Heaven, who would dare to impersonate Chun Hao? Who could disguise themselves so well? Scram immediately. Otherwise, I don't mind disturbing boss's closed-door cultivation. Bailey Ningbing spoke proudly, and her cold and arrogant gaze seemed as if she was looking at a group of ants, even though she was only at the advanced stage of the earthly, immortal realm. Boss. One of the foreign race cultivators was intimidated by Bailey Ningbing's aura. He looked uncertainly at the leader of the group, but was interrupted by a raise of his hand. Do you think we grew up in fear? You did indeed disguise yourself well, especially the undying sword intent. However, who didn't know that the god of slaughter Chun Hao and Saintess whom Mainyang's whereabouts were unknown? If the god of slaughter Chun Hao was here, would we still have a chance to live? Why would you ask us to scram? Ha. Brothers, take it easy. Don't hurt this woman. Go. Boom. The leader of the foreign race attacked first. Boom. Shortly after, the other foreign race cultivators also surrounded them. Bailey Ningbing, who was still in the appearance of Chun Hao, changed her expression. She knew that she had failed. Hence, without any hesitation, she attacked the group that she felt was the weakest. Mother Faster's Cur, I'll fight it out with you. Boom! Lan Feng's glabella shone brightly as he activated a rune that emitted a terrifying aura. He spat out a mouthful of blood and was about to burn his soul. Good disciple, don't be rash. Don't waste it. Just at this moment, a voice floated out. Shortly after, a terrifying aura enveloped the entire area. Bailey Ningbing's heart skipped a beat. Lan Feng's mouth that was spitting out blood froze. He couldn't close it, and his eyes were wide open. As for the foreign cultivators who had formed an encirclement within a radius of 1,000 miles, they all felt their hair stand on end. Their souls instantly felt as if a towering and heavy mountain was pressing down on them, causing them to suffocate. They even lost control of their bodies and were separated from their souls. Chun Hao appeared next to Lan Feng without making a sound. Pa! A slap landed on the head of the stunned Lan Feng. Immediately, the rune that was emitting a bright light floated in front of him. Lan Feng was forcefully interrupted, and his inner yuan that was about to explode from the internal injuries he suffered instantly calmed down. Chun Hao! Bailey Ningbing bit her lips as she muttered in her heart. There were too many strange emotions in her eyes, as though she was struggling. She knew that even though she was still in the appearance of Chun Hao had already seen through her. But Chun Hao didn't even look at her. Haven't I already let it go? Why? Bailey Ningbing's delicate body trembled. Her tranquil heart was once again in turmoil. Ever since Moling Takshu wanted to be intimate with her, she suddenly woke up and understood her own heart. She completely jumped out of the demon barrier of the past. When she recalled the past, there was only bitterness and irreversible. Letting it go might be her final destination. Only then could she maintain the peace in her heart. All these years, no matter where she went, she would hear all kinds of news about him. She had even met him by chance, but she would choose to avoid him immediately and hide far away. She had always thought that she had truly let it go and could face the past calmly, because every time she heard news about Chun Hao, she could remain calm. There was no jealousy, no envy, and no hatred. He was a person who had nothing to do with her anymore, wasn't he? And today, she heard Lan Feng's cry for help. She even casually disguised herself as Chun Hao. Being able to save a human disciple was also a good thing. But she didn't expect she actually met the main character who had disappeared for more than 20 years. She also didn't expect that after meeting him in person, she would still be blatantly ignored. Her heart, which she thought was tranquil, actually began to ripple uncontrollably. Bailey Ningbing bit her lips tightly, tasting the unbearable bitterness. I can't forget. What are you still standing there for? Go, kill the dog, and take the treasure. Chun Hao kicked Lan Feng's butt. Chun Hao no, Boss Chun Hao, Master Chun Hao. Save me to the end. I don't want to die. Idiot, just kill when I tell you to. Chun Hao scolded. Can't move? Lan Feng, who had been kicked like a meteor by Chun Hao, wasn't hurt in the slightest. When he was about to reach a foreign cultivator, he saw that the foreign cultivator's face was covered in cold sweat and his eyes were empty. It was as if he didn't see him at all. Instead, he saw something extremely terrifying. Lan Feng finally noticed the abnormality and was extremely shocked. CK your mother die. Lan Feng shouted excitedly in attack. Chapter 782. Lan Feng had turned into a cold and merciless executioner, harvesting the lives of the non-human experts who had wanted to kill him just a moment ago. Screams, blood mist, meat paste. One by one, they walked towards destruction. Under Chun Hao's terrifying soul pressure, no one could resist. They didn't even notice Lan Feng's approach before they died. In less than 10 minutes, the cultivators who had surrounded Lan Feng, Bailey Ningbing, and Chun Hao were all killed by Lan Feng. Bailey Ningbing stared blankly with mixed feelings among the dozens of cultivators. Half of them were at the heaven's celestial stage. However, regardless of whether they were Earth's celestial stage, heaven's celestial stage, or even their leader, there was no difference. From the beginning to the end, Chunhao only had a crystal between his eyebrows and a pair of shining eyes. Other than that, there was nothing special about him. However, he was able to imprison every single cultivator within 1,000 miles. What kind of shocking strength was this? Whether it was Lan Feng, whose face was covered in blood, or Bailey Ningbing, who was biting her lips and feeling bitter, they couldn't imagine that he was only at the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage. Boss Chunhao, these are all the treasures that we've collected. There are not many decent items. Thank you for saving my life. Give me all the elixirs and spiritual fruits that can refine one's magic power, including yours. Don't tell me you don't have anything. I won't strip you naked this time. Hiss. The sparkling and translucent mark between Chunhao's eyebrows suddenly disappeared. The corner of his mouth carried a devilish smile that made Lan Feng's heart skip a beat. No problem. Chi. Lan Feng hurriedly took out the ancient era's spirit herbs and spirit fruits he had obtained and presented them all to Chunhao. There were over 100 ancient era's jade bottles, exuding a mysterious aura and spirit fruits that emitted an intoxicating fragrance. Not to mention Bailey Ningbing. Even Chunhao, who had been mentally prepared, was shocked by Lan Feng's Son of Providence. Damn it, his cultivation is not high, but his luck is frightening. Not bad. This is 1/4 of what you have. Cough, cough. Boss Chunhao, this is all. 1/5? Half. It's really half of me now. If you don't believe me, I can open my mind and let you see. Forget it. Chunhao, am not that kind of person. Thank you, boss. You don't have to thank me. The other half, as well as the ancient sacred artifact, can be handed over to me for safekeeping. You can keep the rest for yourself. If anything happens to you, I will avenge you. After stepping out of the primitive mystic realm, I will also send it to your family. Boss, don't be shy, it's nothing. Give it to me. The clothes you're wearing don't look bad either. Upon hearing Chunhao's words, Lan Feng's face turned deathly pale. All right. Then I'll have to trouble you to keep it for me. Chi. In an instant, the sky was filled with dazzling light. Countless ancient treasures, spirit pills, and spirit fruits floated out from Lan Feng's forehead. Chunhao waved his sleeves, and the dazzling light disappeared. Then, a milky white light shot out from his forehead and floated in front of Lan Feng. Undying, indestructible, immortal law, solitary sword art. These two things are the most important to you. Study them well, and try to return alive. Lan Feng looked like a frozen eggplant. When he saw the light in front of him and heard Chunhao's words, he looked at Chunhao excitedly. Boss, let me follow you. I want to join AOT. No way. It's better for you to train on your own. That's it. Don't. Boss, don't go. Can you do me a favor? Favor? What favor? There's an ancient place of inheritance. I think it's very suitable for me. It's a pity that more than 10 elites from the Wing tribe have occupied the entrance. Those idiots can't even get in, but they refuse to leave. It's already been 2 years. Oh, you want me to help you get it? Boss, please help me. Lan Feng, promise you that everything I obtain in the primitive secret realm, other than what I can use, will be given to you. Lead the way, Chunhao said directly. Okay, boss, this lady is one of the sisters-in-law. Thank you so much. Lan Feng looked at Bailey Ningbing, who hadn't said a word since the beginning. Bailey Ningbing and Chunhao ignored each other. However, in Lan Feng's eyes, it was as Bailey Ningbing had said. Chunhao was cultivating in seclusion nearby, and Bailey Ningbing was with Chunhao. I don't know you, Chunhao said directly. He looked at Bailey Ningbing and said, don't pretend to be me in the future. Bailey Ningbing's mouth twitched. Voila! Her body shone brightly, and she returned to her original appearance. Chunhao, I hate you. What? You want to fight me? Is your butt itching? Don't forget what I told you last time. Chunhao narrowed his eyes, looking at Bailey Ningbing evilly. Bailey Ningbing's face instantly turned red, but her eyes were filled with humiliation. Her mood was already very complicated, and tears immediately welled up in her eyes. She glared fiercely at Chun Hao, then suddenly turned around and quickly left with a bang. Bailey Ning Bing, Lan Feng said dumbfoundedly. You know her? This, boss, everyone in the sacred temple knows her. Furthermore, she's destined to be your woman. It's no secret. Boss, aren't you with her? Why? What? Destined to be my woman? What'd I have to do with her? What do you mean together? I just happened to meet you. Chen Hao frowned. No way. This is too much of a coincidence. Lan Feng said, I've realized, boss, you're my savior, and I am your lucky star. Cut the crap. Tell me what's going on. What do you mean what's going on? Damn, you just said she's destined to be my woman. Oh, so you didn't know, boss. I only found out after hearing it from my friends in the sacred temple. The rumors are like this. Lan Feng repeated what he had heard at Chun Hao word for word. Chun Hao was speechless and finally understood why Bailey Ning Bing wasn't with Moling Takshu. It turned out that on the aircraft that came to the primitive mystic realm, Moling Takshu wanted to enter an independent space with Bailey Ning Bing, but was rejected by her. When he was about to use force, Bailey Ning Bing actually slapped him in front of so many cultivators. This made Moling Takshu realize that Bailey Ning Bing had rejected him time and time again, not because she was shy, but because she wanted to make use of him. This caused him to fly into a rage out of humiliation, and he directly scolded Bailey Ning Bing. Yes, in my heart, whether it's hate or love, it's all him. I want to make use of you to take revenge on him. I'm sorry. This was the last thing Bailey Ning Bing said to the angry Moling Takshu in front of everyone. F***CK. So she's destined to be my woman? What has it got to do with me? Cough, cough. Boss, love and hate. The deeper the love, the deeper the hatred. The rumored relationship between the two of you seems to be the truth. You know so much about my affairs? Don't talk about me. In the primitive mystic realm, boss, you've become the most dazzling existence. Anything about you will become the topic of discussion. Even the other races know very well. Actually, if you didn't appear just now, boss, Bailey Ning Bing only had to reveal her real face and say her name, and those guys wouldn't dare to kill us. Chen Hao is speechless. Lead the way. I'll settle it with you quickly. I want to go into seclusion. Okay. 2 days later, Lan Feng successfully entered the ancient land of inheritance. Chen Hao continued to go deeper. I'm afraid there is still undiscovered ancient land of inheritance in the core area. Looks like I can't leave this place in a short period of time. Little Wu, Little Yin, and you, the last news I heard was more than 10 years ago. They must be cultivating in seclusion. When Helian Wuzi, Tantai Lien, and Xia Yiyu first appeared, Chen Hao didn't have time to communicate with them. He didn't know the situation in the core area at all. As for the ancient land of inheritance, Chen Hao didn't have much interest. There were countless treasures. How many was too many? Let's go deeper for a few more days. If I can find an ancient land of inheritance, then so be it. If not, I'll just find a place to cultivate in seclusion. Chen Hao blended into the world again. He felt the minute changes in space and headed straight for the core area. Woo woo woo, woo woo woo. I hate you, woo woo woo. Why can't I forget why clouds and mist lingered in the deep canyon? The sobbing sound was intermittent. It was unknown how long it would last. Until now, it had already been 2 days, and there was still no sign of it stopping. Since young, she was blessed by the heavens. She had cultivated a proud heart. But now, she couldn't be proud anymore. She thought she had forgotten, thought she could do it. But when they met again, facing Chun Hao's indifference and words, it almost made her crazy again. She wanted to fight him to the death. Since you can't forget, why should you? Boo! Bailey Ning Bing suddenly stopped crying and asked in shock. It's me, Venerable Han Mei. Bailey Ning Bing opened her eyes wide and looked at Venerable Han Mei, who appeared silently in front of her. She immediately raised her energy vigilantly. She knew about the conflict between Venerable Han Mei and her mother. It was because of a man that they fought to the death. But she didn't know what it was exactly. She only vaguely knew that her grandfather was afraid of that man. You're exactly the same as your mother when she was young. Venerable Han Mei smiled. What do you want? Bailey Ningbing took 2 steps back and asked cautiously. She was extremely shocked. Before entering the primal secret realm, Venerable Celestial Han Mei was already on a different level from her. But now, Venerable Celestial Han Mei had actually stepped into the heavenly immortal realm. Moreover, even though she had restrained her aura, Bailey Ningbing still felt a power that she could not resist. Chapter 783. There's no need to be nervous. Venerable Han Mei looked at Bailey Ningbing gently and said, You must have met Shen Hao, right? Yes. He's not dead, and he's much stronger than before. He's able to immobilize a heavenly immortal expert with just his aura alone. That's all I know. Farewell. Chi. Bailey Ningbing left quickly with a red face. Venerable Han Mei shook her head and didn't chase after her. What I owe my son will repay. Karma. Fate. Who can change it? Who can transcend it? Oof. You've been a playboy all your life. Why are you talking about karma? Cough, cough. Han Mei, the heavenly immortal realm's heaven's punishment has already severed your life. Why are you still so stubborn? Tell me honestly, how am I a playboy? I'm stubborn? You dare say that Bailey Ningbing isn't your daughter? Go to hell. Don't. I'm just a strand of my consciousness here. If you die, who's going to chat with you? There's still 1,000 years left. I don't mind dying. Give me control of your body. That won't do. What if you want to do something? What should we do? You're so nice to Tianxi. Why are you so different when it comes to me? Don't I have my own difficulties? Some things can't be avoided just because you want to. Beauties love heroes, but heroes can't resist the charms of beauties. Even if I'm a transcendent mortal, I can't hide my peerless beauty. Pooey. How can you compare to Hao-Er? In terms of appearance, Hao-Er is 10 times, no, 100 times better than you. In terms of talent, Hao-Er is a lot stronger than you. In terms of temperament, Hao-Er is 10 times stronger than you. In terms of determination, Hao-Er is 10 times stronger than you. Most importantly, when has Hao ever been sneaky with Little Snow and the others? What about you? You still have the face to talk to me about Hao. All right. Tianxi is stronger than me. But isn't it because you're too extreme? You're always fighting with others. Look at Little Snow and the others. Are they like you? Say it again. All right? I won't say it again. However, Han Mei, shouldn't you reincarnate again? With your mentality, you still can't sever your Tao. You can't even sever your own. Why are you talking to me? I can't sever my Tao because of you. If you want to reincarnate, then reincarnate yourself. From now on, I will no longer care about you. You can have as many as you want. Cough, cough. Give me the body. I'm going to find you in way. It's fine. You rest. I'll do it. While I'm at it, I'll absorb some more soul force. A month later, after Chun Hao made several high-profile appearances, he casually found a cave house left behind from ancient times and began to cultivate in seclusion. The core area was vast and constantly changing. It was possible to meet someone by chance, but if one wanted to find someone, it would take too much time. Therefore, Chen Hao only made a few high-profile appearances to spread the news of his return. Moreover, the girls could also be in seclusion, so there was no need to look for them. In the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage, Chen Hao had too many things to consolidate, cultivate, and comprehend. With the numerous elixirs and spiritual fruits provided by Blue Mountain, Chen Hao was confident that he could break through to the heaven celestial stage. First, I'll refine my magic power to the peak of the later stage of the Earth celestial stage. Then, I'll comprehend and cultivate the 3,000 great Daos. Even if they're not my Daos, I can use them as reference and have more trump cards. Phew, there's so many things to consolidate. I'm afraid this seclusion will be the longest seclusion in my life. Chen Hao swallowed a precious ancient spiritual fruit and immersed himself in cultivation. At the same time, Chen Hao communicated with the Tao manifestation celestial fruit for the first time. Although it hadn't taken root yet, the moment he communicated with it, the heavenly law in the cave house fluctuated violently. Vast universe galaxy, second world, Yang City, East Flow City. Countless cultivators came and went. The Alliance's core square was always crowded, paying attention to the changes in the Pagoda Tablet's ranking list. Although 40 to 50 years had passed in the primitive mystic realm, only a few months had passed in the vast universe galaxy. The ranking list had also undergone a huge change. However, for the past several months, there hadn't been any news sent out from East Flow City's first-place Chunhao and second-place Chunlin, as well as the higher-ranked Long Ting, Chun Xiaobai, Fan Dongsheng, and Fan Dongsheng, as well as at least a tenth of the cultivators. The same situation was happening in other cities. Mediocre cultivators were fine, but many experts were the same. This situation caused quite a stir in the beginning. However, when the Alliance announced that people might enter the 9 restrictions of celestial ceiling or similar areas, everyone understood what was going on. It might be the 9 restrictions of celestial ceiling. Once it's out, the ranking list will definitely undergo a huge change. Miss must have gained a lot from being with Chunlin. Haha, that's for sure. Miss is very talented. With a top disciple like Chunlin by her side, her gains will naturally be greater. Moreover, there won't be any danger. Yes, it's good, but it's a pity that Dongsheng. Alas, this is fate. If it weren't for that incident, although Dongsheng might not be as good as Chunlin, he wouldn't be much worse. Childhood sweethearts. Chill. Don't mention this in the future. Let bygones be bygones. If the family head hears about this, we might be scolded. Second world, East Flow City. The cultivators of the Fan family, who were responsible for monitoring the ranking list, were discussing. I don't know what Lil Bing will do. Brother Guan, don't worry. You've already seen through Lil Bing. No matter what, Lil Bing won't kill Chen Hao. Things won't get out of hand. I'm not worried about this. Guan Nanchao shook his head. Then who is Brother Guan? She's with the #1 genius of the Eternal Life sect, Moling Takshu. Based on my understanding of her, she'll definitely use Moling Takshu to deal with Chun Hao. Moling Takshu is one of the top 10 geniuses of the Earth's celestial stage in the Sanctum. Maybe there'll be a big problem. That's true. However, it's useless for us to worry. We can only wait and see. In the encampment palace on the Wuji planet, Guan Nanchao and Lu Qingyang were worried after they determined that Chun Hao, Bailey Ning Bing, and Moling Takshu had entered the 9 restrictions of celestial ceiling or similar holy lands. Everyone was concerned about their own disciples. Similarly, the 4 mad dragons, Chunlin, Moling Takshu, Baiyan, Humaingyang, and the others were also looking forward to the amazing performance of their disciples. Moreover, everyone was full of confidence. An area like the 9 restrictions of celestial ceiling would block all auras. Even the longevity cards that the sects specially condensed for their disciples would not have any reaction. Whether they were alive or dead, they would only know after they stepped out of the area. I need to think about it. I'm writing too slowly and updating late. Chapter 784. Qi, 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 Qi. In the abode, the Taoist principles were rolling. The spiritual qi of heaven and earth was raging, and a majestic and terrifying pressure covered the sky. In less than half a year, with the help of many ancient elixirs and spiritual fruits, Chun Hao had refined his true core strength to the peak of the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage. Moreover, with the Tao manifestation, celestial fruits' incredible function, even refining his true core strength allowed Chun Hao to condense the Heaven Way's precepts naturally. The first thing is to fuse the secular sword way, secular heart sutra, solitary sword art, and soul healing techniques use of the soul together. As long as I can do this, my combat power will double, especially if I encounter an expert with a powerful soul and will. After comprehending the Secular Heart Sutra with Humaingyang for more than 20 years, his soul had already reached the peak of the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage. Just by using the soul healing technique's pressure, he could completely suppress an ordinary expert at the initial stage of the Heaven Celestial stage. Just like when he helped Lan Feng kill those mysterious clans, there was no suspense at all. But Chun Hao knew clearly that if he encountered a genius with a powerful soul and will, That kind of pressure would be useless. If he could suppress it, he would suppress it. If he couldn't, it would be useless. But if the secular heart sutra, secular sword way, and solitary sword art were completely integrated into the pressure of the soul, it would open up a new world. It was like a simple, unchanging gravity suddenly became a gravity that could be big or small and unpredictable. Even if the highest gravity didn't change, it could catch people off guard. But to do this, it couldn't be done in a short time. Even if Chun Hao's comprehension was high, it was impossible. This was an extremely incredible fusion. Pressure turned into a sword, emotions turned into a sword, and it was driven by the soul. In the world, only Chun Hao would try such a heaven-defying fusion. 8 years passed in the blink of an eye. Chun Hao, who was like an old monk in meditation, meditated bitterly for 8 years and didn't move at all. On the other hand, the pressure emanated from his body was like the 9 transformations of the divine silkworm, and it was profound and unfathomable. Sometimes the pressure covered the heavens and the earth, and it descended indiscriminately and enveloped the entire abode. Sometimes the pressure condensed into a small area, and it was like a sword that pierced through the sky and moved about like a bolt of lightning. Sometimes it was surrounded by dense air and layers of illusions. The fusion was successful. 8 years in the blink of an eye. It's only the Earth's celestial stage, and I didn't feel anything for 8 years. No wonder powerful cultivators can cultivate in seclusion for hundreds or thousands of years, or even longer. Fortunately, this is the primitive mystic realm. If I was in the vast universe galaxy, I'm afraid I'd become the heartless great Tao in the eyes of my brothers and sisters, right? Chun Hao muttered to himself. Half a year of meditation to him was like sleeping. Everyone has their own Tao, their own path. Walking the great Tao alone is the same for everyone. Chun Hao thought of his sisters and brothers, but his heart was calm and tranquil. Soon after, he immersed himself in cultivation again. Soul healing techniques were profound and complicated. Even with Chun Hao's astounding comprehension, he was still only at the peak of the second realm and had yet to break through to the third realm. Of course, Chun Hao did not focus on soul healing techniques. What he needed to do now was to unlock the memories left behind by the extreme Tao mighty figure and find a balance between the two extreme Taos. He needed to merge them and step onto the righteous Tao. Of course, it would be best if he could succeed. If not, then Chun Hao could only temporarily give up the cultivation of the two extreme Taos. Otherwise, he would unknowingly fall into the extreme Taos. Half a year later, Chun Hao opened his eyes and chose to temporarily give up. I don't know where to start at all, let alone merge the two extreme Taos. I'd better find one of the 3,000 great Taos to comprehend first. I already have the foundation of the platinum sky-splitting slash for the great 5 elements art. I'll start from here. Chi Chi Chi. Chun Hao stood upright and set up an extremely powerful restriction in the cave abode with a wave of his hand. He had started cultivating the great 5 elements art. Chun Hao immersed himself in cultivation crazily, breaking through his limits again and again. When he exhausted his energy, essence, and spirit, and could no longer support himself, he would meditate and cultivate quietly. When he recovered to a full state, he would once again activate the great 5 elements art. Time after time of cultivation, Chun Hao had a deeper understanding of the heavenly Tao and the 5 elements. He also took a step forward on his own Tao. This was undoubtedly stepping on the shoulders of his predecessors. Chi 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 Huff. Huff. Rumble, is it over? It's been 60 years. The gate of time and space is finally about to open. The sudden and terrifying tremors of heaven and earth caused the entire space to tremble. Mysterious and dense Tao laws surged, and a vast and terrifying amount of heaven and earth energy converged, causing countless cultivators who were immersed in seclusion to spring up and look up at the void with excited expressions. Rumble. Ha ha ha. Lonely as snow. I'm finally about to start a new journey. I'm going to die of boredom. A cave suddenly collapsed, and even a 1,000-foot mountain peak was reduced to flying rubble. A huge figure soared into the sky, exuding the terrifying aura of an ancient divine beast. Wild laughter resounded through heaven and earth like thunder. Coiling Dragon looked up at the sky and stared at the crazily surging Tao laws and heaven and earth energy. Immediately after, Helian Wuzi, Tantai Lian, Xia Yiyu, Liang, and Chunling also flew up from the nearby mountain peaks. They already had the inheritances of ancient divine beasts. Long before Chun Hao and Hu Meinyang returned, it was difficult for them to find a worthy opponent. They were all immersed in seclusion cultivation. Linger, Liang, you don't have the mark of the gate of time and space. Come and join us, Xia Yuyu shouted from afar. Okay, Chi-Chi. In the blink of an eye, everyone gathered together. I also want to go with you. At least I have to see senior brother. What should I do? Coiling Dragon looked at them and said gloomily. When he stepped into the 9 restrictions of immortal sealing, he was not at the same teleportation point as Chun Shui and the others. Therefore, the mark left by the gate of time and space would teleport him to the teleportation point when he entered. Big guy, you want to challenge my big brother, right? Ahem. Little Linger, don't talk nonsense. At most, I'll just spar with senior brother. I'm gonna die of boredom. Lonely as snow. I'm a lofty figure. Who can fight with me? Don't be so smug. Sister-in-law Xiao Wu only needs to use her chaotic divine light to scare you out of your wits. I'll join forces with senior brother to piss you off. Chun Ling said smugly. Over the past few decades, Coiling Dragon, who was addicted to fighting, had provoked and begged everyone to fight with him many times. However, after a few times, he no longer challenged anyone to a fight. He could not enjoy himself to the fullest. Helian Wuzi, Tantai Lian, and Xia Yu were all his senior brother's wives. He could not fight to his heart's content without any scruples. Chun Ling and Liang joined forces and appeared and disappeared mysteriously. They did not want to fight with him directly. Chapter 785. Chi, Kacha. A majestic mountain suddenly burst out with endless lightning. In an instant, the mountain collapsed and the earth cracked. A graceful figure surrounded by dazzling lightning broke out of the mountain. Electric arcs surrounded her, releasing a destructive pressure. If the lonely Coiling Dragon sensed this aura at this moment, he would definitely fight. This was because this destructive aura was definitely not inferior to his. It's been 60 years. Chun Shui's beautiful eyes seemed to contain 9 layers of lightning as she stared at the void and muttered. Her blue dress and long hair fluttered in the wind. The surrounding Tao laws gathered, collapsed, gathered again, and collapsed again. She clearly had the might of Hu Meinyang's innate Tao fetus, but it was extremely contradictory. The resonating Tao laws were destroyed by the electric arcs around her before they could touch her. How? I've finally become strong. Chun Shui, who had once watched Chun Hao fall into a life-and-death situation, did not even have the right to show up and fight. Now, she had finally gotten rid of that serious psychological trauma. She had an unyielding belief in her bones. She was stubborn and eager to be strong. Even if it was the abnormal Chun Hao, she had never truly given in, because she didn't want to give in. Only by setting her goal higher and further could she keep up with his footsteps. If she admitted defeat in her bones, then she would never be able to catch up to Chun Hao. She could love deeply, but she could not worship him in her bones. That would very likely cause her to lose the right to love him. Tao, her own Tao. On the path forward, she could tremble with fear, respect, and even envy, but she could not worship him. In the cave, Long Ting, who was completely naked and soaking in the spiritual spring, slowly opened her sleepy eyes. She stretched and let out a long yawn. Her full and alluring breasts trembled, and the entire mountain trembled violently with her slight movement. So comfortable, so hungry, hiss. Light flashed, and Long Ting's beautiful and alluring body was immediately dressed. She opened her mouth slightly, and the mountain was suddenly enveloped by endless darkness and disappeared. Bah, bah, bah. Such a big mountain, but it only has so little energy. To think that it's a land of inheritance. He he he. I'll be able to see brother house soon. I'll eat you until you're poor. Oomph. Gee. With a flash of light, a silhouette appeared in the void as if it had teleported. In terms of speed alone, it would definitely shock countless experts. Big sister. I wonder how Sister Shui and the others are doing? We have always been the weakest. This time, it should be better, right? Yes, it should be better. Our unity has already reached the point where our souls and bodies have completely become one. It's much stronger than the true unity of the 4 berserk dragons. Furthermore, we can shield ourselves from the heavenly secrets. At this moment, the 2 beautiful sisters were the same person. He muttered to himself and answered his own questions. However, as she spoke, the figure gradually split into 2. Huan and Lele appeared separately. Their charming and identical appearances and figures were extremely alluring. Heaven Immortal Realm. Every single one of them had stepped into the heavenly immortal realm and obtained the inheritance of an ancient mighty figure. Moreover, Hellion Woozy relied on her reincarnation memories to select the strongest among the thousands of ancient powerhouses that were most suitable for them. Now's the time. Soundlessly, the cave abode and mountain were not damaged in the slightest. Not a single piece of rubble was left behind, and not even a trace was left behind. However, Chunhao had passed through the top of the cave and directly appeared in the void. As he sensed the terrifying energy fluctuations and the rolling Tao laws in the heavens and the earth, his eyes flashed with a wisp of excitement. Boom! Boundless and vigorous essence, energy, and spirit suddenly bloomed. Like a sword piercing through the heavens, it shot straight to the 9 heavens. The duration of the space-time gate is enough for me to trigger the heavenly punishment. At this time, the energy of the world is definitely the most abundant and the most active. The heavenly laws are the thickest, the most majestic, and the most complete. The heavenly punishment that I trigger will definitely be stronger, and my benefits will naturally be greater. Come on, Buzz. His already terrifying essence, energy, and spirit suddenly underwent an even more terrifying change at this moment. It was as if it had turned into reality. Boom! Whoosh! In an instant, a hurricane rose and thunder rumbled. The violent shaking of the world due to the arrival of the space-time gate suddenly surged 100 times, 1,000 times, and the world changed colors. 100,000 miles, 1 million miles, 2 million miles, 3 million miles. At this moment, countless cultivators looked in the direction of Chunhao in horror. What's going on? Within a radius of several million miles, countless cultivators were shocked and confused when the energy of the world above their heads suddenly flowed into the distance. Everyone's eyes almost fell to the ground. Heavenly punishment. Someone is triggering the heavenly punishment at this time? Madman. It's him. It must be him. At the same time, Hu Meinyang, who was several million miles away, stared at the void and murmured with her pupils constricted. Apart from him, who else would be so crazy? Those who can step into the heaven celestial stage have already stepped into it. Those who don't have the ability or dare to trigger the heavenly punishment wouldn't trigger it now. That's courting death. Only he, Hu Meinyang, was quite sure that when she separated from Chunhao was at the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage. After several decades, she believed that with Chunhao's abnormal talent and the numerous elixirs and treasures he had, he could definitely reach the peak of the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage and completely consolidate his cultivation. Triggering the heavenly punishment now was undoubtedly the best way to temper his cultivation. If she were Chunhao, she would also do such a crazy thing. It's a pity that I'm already a heaven celestial. Hu Meinyang bit her lip and felt a little jealous. I reached the heaven celestial stage to deal with you. My loss. I'll take it back from you. You won't mind if I borrow the heavenly punishment, right? What a cold-hearted guy. Swish. Hu Meinyang suddenly turned into a strand of light and flew away quickly. At this moment, with the shaking of the world, she didn't need to sense the changes in space to find the direction. Crack, crack, rumble, rumble, it's so powerful. After pushing his essence, chi, and spirit to the limit, heavenly thunder rumbled. Thunder and lightning raged and rumbled continuously. Those who did not know what was going on would think that the heavenly punishment had erupted. However, this was only the beginning of the heavenly punishment, because the gathered energy and heavenly Tao law were too powerful. Such an abnormal situation had occurred. The strength of the pressure was several times stronger than Chun Hao's expectation. It was as if God was really angry. This is just the beginning. Is what I'm doing too heaven-defying? Even Chun Hao was shocked at this moment. My God, is this the collapse of the universe? No, I have to go farther. At this moment, the cultivators who happened to be tens of thousands of miles away from Chun Hao wanted to get closer to see who was so crazy. At the same time, they could also learn something from the heavenly punishment. However, as soon as they moved, they were scared silly by the terrifying pressure. How would they dare to get closer? The cultivators who rushed over from afar were also tens of thousands of miles away. Moreover, as the tribulation clouds gathered, the heavenly punishment's pressure became stronger and stronger. The cultivators who were close to the heavenly punishment were so scared that they quickly retreated. Swish, swish, swish. Only a strand of light could be seen approaching from a few million miles away at a terrifying speed. Wherever it passed, the great Tao hummed and the law of heaven rumbled. Hu Meinyang didn't hide her aura at all. She was racing against time to get closer. Many people exclaimed when they sensed her aura. Hu Meinyang, the saintess of the misty rain tower of the human race. After disappearing for decades, she actually appeared when someone triggered the heavenly punishment. Moreover, the aura she released was unimaginably powerful. Hu Meinyang was not dead. A few decades ago, Chun Hao had displayed his prowess in this area, so naturally he had not died. Then, was the person undergoing the heavenly tribulation now Chun Hao? All the cultivators within a radius of millions of miles thought of Chun Hao when they saw Hu Meinyang's figure. It must be Chun Hao undergoing the heavenly tribulation. Hu Meinyang is rushing over. She must be sure that the other party is Chun Hao. Let's go and kill him. The cultivators who didn't know the exact situation of Hu Meinyang and Chun Hao were guessing. However, when they were tens of thousands of miles away, they couldn't get any closer. As for the cultivators of the foreign races, they were afraid that they would be killed by the human race if they didn't hide well enough. None of them dared to show themselves. Even the foreign races who had obtained the inheritance of the ancient Almighty could only endure for now. Because of Ao Tian, the human race had become the true ruler of this space. This, how can it be so strong? The heavenly punishment hasn't even started yet. How can it be the wrath of the heavens? Hu Meinyang's speed slowed down when she was tens of thousands of miles away. She looked at the endless thunderbolts in the void in shock. She, who had an innate Taoist embryo, was shocked to find that the thunderbolts seemed to have turned into the legendary celestial soldiers. It was a strange phenomenon. Even if the spatial gate has boosted the energy of heaven and earth and the laws of heaven and earth, it shouldn't be so strong. The wrath of the heavens is a phenomenon that only appears when one steps into the Daoyuo Jingxian. Although this isn't the true wrath of the heavens, with this kind of aura, it's impossible to resist. When Hu Meinyang was close to 20,000 miles away, her speed became slower and slower. Even she felt great pressure from the terrifying aura. What are you doing here? You've comprehended the Red Dust Heart Sutra and want to teach it to me? I don't think you're that kind. Are you trying to borrow my strength? At this moment, Chun Hao's divine will suddenly appeared. That's right. I don't dare to comprehend the 10th level of the Red Dust Heart Sutra for now. I'm only here to temper it with your heavenly punishment. Can I do that? Hu Meinyang looked at Chun Hao from afar. Her expression did not change at all. Of course not. Chun Hao said without hesitation. I won't harm you, and I won't harm you. Why can't I? Besides, if I want to borrow your strength, You can't stop me, right? Then go ahead and try. Boom. Chun Hao's black eyes bloomed with an incomparably powerful fighting spirit, and the true essence around his body instantly surged. Hu Meinyang frowned slightly. Your heavenly punishment already contains the aura of the wrath of the heavens. Even if you resist it, it won't be easy for you to overcome it. Besides, you're no match for me. Don't even think about using me to vent. Even if you want to vent, I'll give you a chance after the heavenly punishment ends. Chapter 786. That's what you said, Chen Hao said, staring at Hu Meinyang. Of course, Hu Meinyang said confidently as she approached. Su Quebec, damn it. When I become a heaven celestial, let's see how I'll deal with you. Chen Hao said to himself. Although Chen Hao didn't want to kill Hu Meinyang anymore, he still couldn't let go of the fact that he had almost been raped for more than 20 years. Chen Hao was still brooding over it. Chen Hao never held grudges. He always took his revenge on the spot. He didn't have the strength to face this woman. After decades of secluded cultivation, Chen Hao's fighting spirit rose when he saw Hu Meinyang. However, Hu Meinyang was extremely calm. She didn't care about Chen Hao's provocation. She saw through Chen Hao's purpose and confidently asked Chen Hao to become a heaven celestial. Crack! Countless thick thunderbolts finally descended. Each thunderbolt seemed to have formed a legendary heavenly soldier. With a brilliant heavenly might, they descended mightily. Chen Hao, who bore the brunt of the thunderbolts, felt the unimaginably horrible pressure. His dark eyes flashed with a touch of madness. Suddenly, he looked up to the sky and roared. His essence, chi, and spirit surged. However, he didn't use any energy to resist the thunderbolts. At the same time, Hu Meinyang, who was within the range of Chen Hao's thunderbolts, also did the same thing. Rumble, rumble, the endless thunderbolts seemed to destroy the world. The mountains within a radius of 10,000 miles collapsed and the earth cracked. The area within a radius of 1,000 miles turned into a thunderbolt's purgatory. The cultivators who were tens of thousands of miles away felt their hair stand on end when they sensed the terrible shaking of heaven and earth. What would happen if they were in the core area? It's too horrible. This is only the first stage of the heavenly punishment. If I were in the core area, I'm afraid I would be turned into ashes. Countless cultivators at the Earth celestial stage and the initial stage of the heaven celestial stage were horrified. Chi, F*CK. This is too powerful. This was only the first level of heavenly punishment, yet Chen Hao's incomparably strong body actually cracked inch by inch. His soul, state of mind, will, and Tao laws were almost completely detonated. I want to see how strong you are. I can't take it head on. Chen Hao clenched his teeth. Beneath his nearly destroyed body and will, he instantly cleared his mind and used the purgatory of thunder to temper his body and soul. He comprehended the terrifying heavenly might contained within and grasped the heavenly Tao laws. As for Hu Meinyang, who was 100 miles away, she also had a grave expression on her face. At this moment, her graceful and exquisite body was in an even worse state than Chen Hao's. Her entire body was pitch black and cracked, and her image was completely gone. What was even more unexpected to Hu Meinyang was that under the bombardment and pressure of the terrifying thunder and lightning, she was unable to control her essence. Energy and spirit, which she had been suppressing, soared into the sky. Oh no, Chen Hao, I triggered the heavenly punishment. Hu Meinyang couldn't help but exclaim. In the past few decades, she had already reached the peak of the medium stage of the heaven celestial stage. However, she had suppressed herself and didn't trigger the heavenly punishment. For her, who had an innate Taoist embryo and amazing talent and comprehension, leveling up wasn't a problem at all. The key was to tap into her greatest potential in every stage. Therefore, she usually suppressed herself. Only when she reached the peak of the full circle stage would she choose to trigger the heavenly punishment and step into the next stage. Now, because of Chen Hao's heavenly punishment, which was close to the level of a heavenly soldier, It was like a fuse that caused her essence, energy, and spirit to blossom. The heavenly punishment of a small stage was also triggered. What does it have to do with me? Chun Hao, who was suffering from endless thunder and lightning, replied coldly when he heard Hu Meinyang's words. You? Fine. I can't borrow your glory for nothing. I'll borrow some from you. Chi. Hu Meinyang had subconsciously regarded Chun Hao as a friend. Therefore, after triggering the heavenly punishment of a small stage, she couldn't help but say this to Chun Hao. However, she didn't expect Chun Hao to say, "What does it have to do with me?" This made Hu Meinyang very angry. Therefore, without saying anything, she directly activated her energy to temporarily resist the heavenly punishment and rush toward Chun Hao. Crack, crack, rumble. What's the use of a small heavenly punishment? What's the use of a grain of rice under my great heavenly punishment? Seeing Hu Meinyang suddenly appear beside him, Chun Hao didn't panic at all. Instead, he stared at Hu Meinyang, who had no image at all, and said disdainfully, "Is that so? Then what if we become one?" Become one? We've been cultivating together for more than 20 years. Becoming one is no problem, as long as my essence, energy, and spirit are released through you. You should know what will happen. Do you dare? F***CK. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Come, come. Chi. Hu Meinyang didn't talk nonsense. A ray of light shot out from between her eyebrows and connected with Chun Hao's eyebrows. At the same time, she stretched out her hand and held Chun Hao's hand. Using the Secular Heart Sutra as a guide, their souls, minds, and wills merged instantly. Boom! At this moment, Chun Hao felt Hu Meinyang's vast and powerful essence, energy, and spirit gushing into his mind like a river bursting through a dam. *MN. This woman is really powerful. Chun Hao was a little surprised. After dozens of years, Hu Meinyang's cultivation stage had improved from the medium stage of the heaven celestial stage to the peak of the medium stage. However, the essence, energy, and spirit contained in her body and soul were many times more powerful than before. Although Chun Hao was abnormal, he was only at the peak of the later stage of the earth celestial stage. He couldn't be compared with Hu Meinyang at all. Who are you scolding? I'm just lamenting. Why are you so excited? Chun Hao said stubbornly. He had forgotten that they had merged into one. At this moment, not only were their souls merged, but their consciousnesses were also merged. Only in this way could Chun Hao activate Hu Meinyang's essence, energy, and spirit. If you have the ability, you can resist the heavenly punishment like I did. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Hu Meinyang suddenly imitated Chun Hao's tone. When Chun Hao heard Hu Meinyang's words, he was speechless for a while. You just said I'm your father, but this woman just said I'm your mother. This was simply not in line with her image. If her brainless fans heard this, they would collapse. Buzz. Just as Hu Meinyang's voice fell, her charred and cracked body suddenly trembled at an extremely high frequency. Soon after, complex and mysterious runes appeared on her exposed skin. Using your body as a cauldron to condense Taoist runes on your body, Chun Hao said in surprise. Are you afraid? Humph. If you want to defeat me, you might have a little hope when your cultivation stage is similar to mine. Now you can't. Hu Meinyang said in her heart. Then you'd better open your eyes. Let's begin. Boom. Chun Hao took a deep breath and activated Hu Meinyang's essence, energy, and spirit. Then it shot up into the sky. Whoosh! A hurricane appeared. The tribulation clouds suddenly surged violently, gathering the energy of heaven and earth and Taoist runes at a terrifying speed. Kacha! Kacha rumble! At this moment, the endless thunder and lightning became even more frenzied. The prototype of the heavenly weapon shone brightly as it gradually became clearer. It was like a real cultivator. Their faces could be seen clearly. Their aura increased by several times and spread wildly. Chapter 787. At this moment, screams suddenly erupted. The sudden increase in strength caused the surrounding cultivators who had controlled their distance from the center of the heavenly punishment to retreat in horror. The first heavenly punishment ended. The tribulation clouds rolled in the void, and the surrounding tens of thousands of miles were as dark as ink. Only the 10,000 miles of the core area was flashing with lightning, causing the dark night sky to flicker. You want to steal my technique? Don't make it sound so bad. Since you shamelessly said that you wanted to borrow my light and become one with me, that means you're unconditionally opening it for me. I want to comprehend it. What does that have to do with you? I don't believe you can comprehend it. This can only be done by the body of a connate Taoist embryo. Who do you think you are? I can't be bothered with you. Don't disturb my comprehension. Hiss. Chun Hao took advantage of the gap between the second heavenly punishment, and his mind wandered all over Hu Meinyang's body, comprehending the mysterious runes on the surface of her body. Using his own body as a cauldron and using his natal treasure to refine it, how could Chun Hao let go of such a heaven-defying opportunity? As for Hu Meinyang's so-called connate Taoist embryo, he didn't care at all. He believed that his evolving body was definitely not inferior to the connate Taoist embryo. On the other hand, Hu Meinyang's face was flushed red. Their souls were intertwined, and their minds were connected. Chun Hao's divine senses wandered through every inch of her body, making her feel as if she was being watched and caressed. However, she couldn't stop it. Otherwise, their state of unity would be cut off. Chun Hao, this shameless guy, directly integrated into the realm of thoughtless tranquility. In his mind, other than the comprehension of serious and serious, no other thoughts appeared. However, his mind focused on Hu Meinyang's sensitive parts, making her abnormally limp and numb. If not for her strong willpower, her state of mind would have been messed up. Hu Meinyang was sure that Chun Hao was taking revenge on purpose. Crack, rumble, the second heavenly punishment descended. It was more than 10 times stronger than the first heavenly punishment. At this moment, Hu Meinyang was forcefully resisting the heavenly punishment. The profound and complex runes around her bloomed with resplendent light as they madly devoured the power of thunder to temper her body. This should have been several times more severe than the first level of heavenly punishment. But now, not only was Hu Meinyang's charred skin not severely damaged by this terrifying thunder, it even began to glow with vitality. On the other hand, Chun Hao was in a much more miserable state compared to the first level of heavenly punishment now. Chi. Beneath the endless pressure of heavenly retribution, Chun Hao forcefully endured the endless pain of his soul and body. But as the runes around Hu Meinyang's body began to revolve, a wisp of obsession cut into her like a bolt of lightning. Don't force yourself. The third heavenly punishment will definitely destroy your physical body. Mind your own business. You don't know what's good for you. Oof. He can still hold on? As expected, you have the potential of Yi Xian's fleshly body. It's a pity that your cultivation level is too low. With the double heavenly punishment and the addition of my essence, energy, and spirit, you definitely won't be able to resist the fourth level. If I take it head on, will you give me a strand of your blood essence? Forget about primordialine. I'm not interested. Scram. If you dare to talk nonsense again, I'll kill you. Blood essence. Do you want to bet? If I can't take it, the Tao manifestation immortal fruit core and countless Dharma treasures will be yours. Facing the strong woman, Chun Hao could only take a step back and did not continue to tease her. Fine. If you can take it, I'll give you my blood essence. Not to mention one strand, even if it's 10 or 100 strands, can you still become a connate Taoist embryo? What a waste of effort. If I were you, I would obediently comprehend and gain more. Hu Meinyang naturally knew why Chun Hao wanted the blood essence. Just wait and be dumbfounded. Madman, why aren't you defending? You're courting death. Hu Meinyang cursed as she looked at Chun Hao, who no longer resembled a human, in horror. With the two of them as one, Hu Meinyang could clearly sense that Chun Hao's state was definitely on the verge of collapse. However, this guy was stubbornly holding on. Under the terrifying pressure of the heavenly punishment, a strand of obsession was still locked onto her soul and body, maintaining the last bit of consciousness. Even Hu Meinyang, who was at the peak of the middle stage, heavenly immortal stage, only had a strand of her mind to pay attention to Chunhao and warn him. The rest was resisting the terrifying heavenly punishment with all her strength. This was the heavenly punishment that would only appear when one stepped into the Daoyuo Jinxian. Although it was weak, it still put the two of them in danger. Of course, Hu Meinyang was much better. At least her body was unharmed. She only had to endure the pressure on her soul and the baptism of the heavenly Dao law. Crack, rumble. However, Chunhao acted as if he was blind and didn't care at all. He was on the verge of collapse. Not only did one of his obsessions lock onto his physical body and soul, preventing him from dying, another obsession was immersed in Hu Meinyang's physical body, constantly trying to comprehend. Finally, the fourth heavenly punishment ended. Lunatic, I've never seen such a competitive person like you. You don't even want your life anymore. Cut the crap and give me the blood essence. I know whether I want my life or not. What are you worried about? Are you feeling sorry for me? Chi, I can't be bothered with you. Hu Meinyang turned her face away. However, she opened her mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood essence. How generous. You're actually giving me your blood essence. Chunhao was slightly surprised. I don't want you to blame me for not having enough blood essence if you fail. If you still insist on the fifth heavenly punishment, I won't collect your corpse. Don't worry. Even if you want to, you won't have the chance. Both of them spoke without thinking. They did not think too much about it. They did not want their souls to be penetrated by the other party's heavenly punishment. Chunhao opened his completely unrecognizable charred mouth and swallowed Hu Meinyang's essence blood into his body. Hiss, hiss, in an instant, the blood essence, which contained endless Tao principles and mysteries, was divided into cells under Chunhao's control. First, it went to his head, where almost every cell had collapsed. Then it went to his internal organs, Dantian, and finally his limbs. At this time, Hu Meinyang frowned and stared at Chunhao with bright eyes. Up until now, the shock that Chunhao had brought to her was completely beyond her imagination. Although she didn't want to admit it, she knew that Chunhao couldn't have succeeded in secretly learning from her. However, because of the connection between their consciousnesses, she could feel that Chunhao's divine thoughts wandering around her body seemed to have comprehended something. Now that he had obtained her essence blood, if Chunhao had done this, perhaps he had a way to achieve the weaponization of the fleshly body without the innate Taoist embryo. However, it was different from her weapon transformation. The fifth heavenly punishment had arrived. As Hu Meinyang comprehended and endured the heavenly punishment, she separated a strand of divine will and nervously paid attention to Chunhao's condition. She had no choice but to act. Although she did not want to admit it, Hu Meinyang did not want Chunhao, who had been with her for more than 20 years and had truly saved her, to die under the heavenly punishment. Moreover, in her despair, she had done something that she could not let go of until now. Although it was only the beginning, it was her first time, and she had taken the initiative. Although a holy maiden could not have a Tao companion in her life, she was still a woman. Hu Meinyang, I know what I'm doing. Don't think you're smart. Focus on comprehending your own body and mind. Don't meddle in other people's business. However, what made Hu Meinyang angry was that she hadn't said or done anything. Under the protection of the state of thoughtless tranquility, she hadn't even thought of anything. However, Chunhao seemed to know what she was thinking and directly warned her. This kind of dog-eat-dog situation made Hu Meinyang want to vomit blood. You think too highly of yourself. Do you think I'm going to meddle in your affairs? You deserve to die. I'm waiting to collect the Tao manifestation immortal fruit core. In anger, Hu Meinyang directly withdrew her last strand of divine consciousness and completely immersed herself in the terrifying heavenly punishment. Crack. Rumble. Condense. Condense. F***CK. Don't be so startled. It's like you're moaning in bed, okay? In the terrifying heavenly punishment, although Hu Meinyang was completely immersed in comprehending, her state was still one with Chunhao. If Chunhao's soul and mind fluctuated too much, it would directly affect the state of unity. This made Hu Meinyang scream again and again in her mind. However, just as she screamed and thought that Chun Hao was about to die, the state of unity stabilized again. Bastard, aren't you surprised when you try the state of unity? You condensed it? After whom Mainyang woke up from her anger, she looked at Chun Hao's pitch-black body in astonishment. The surface of Chun Hao's body was completely devoid of human shape, and there were actually faint golden runes shining on it. They were mysterious and complex, but they were completely different from her runes. However, they were not as powerful as her runes. Of course, they were definitely not as powerful as hers. She used her body as a cauldron and turned it into a weapon. This was completely a gift from the 13 white jade crystal steels of the Misty Rain Pavilion. The runes on the surface of her body were condensed on the white jade crystal steels by the founder's supreme divine ability. Any disciple who comprehended the Red Dust Heart Sutra and refined the white jade crystal steels and had a connate Tao embryo would be condensed on their body. This was a body that truly required a connate Tao embryo. Using your body as a cauldron and a connate Tao embryo. That's all there is to it, Chun Hao said proudly. What's there to be proud of when you're so low level? Low level is low level, but I condensed it myself. What about you? I'm talented and lucky. It's also a kind of strength. Now it's also mine. Why can't I? Saintess? I really can't stand it. I wonder what those idiots who are chasing after you will think if they hear this. Don't you find me disgusting? I'm just saying it to you. We're a couple. If you like me, just say it. Although I'm not interested, I don't mind. Bastard. Bitch. You dare to say it? Damn it. I'll let you be proud for a while. When I become a heaven immortal, I'll definitely get back at you. Hu Mainyang finally stopped calling him her mother. Instead, she stared at Chun Hao and said without showing any weakness, I'll be waiting. Immediately, the two of them entered a state of wholehearted comprehension. Crack. Rumble. The sixth punishment of heaven descended. At this moment, Chun Hao's body emitted a faint golden light. The runes were activated and his body became a weapon. However, it was a newly formed rune that had not undergone any refinement. Chapter 788. Thunder rumbled and runes flickered. Chun Hao discovered that the pain his body had to endure was not reduced in the slightest compared to when he did not use the runes. Instead, it became even more painful because the runes devoured energy. However, the power required to destroy the body was also greater. In such a situation, it meant that the effects of tempering both the body and the soul had been greatly improved. Crack. Rumble. Under the continuous bombardment of thunder, Chun Hao focused all his efforts on tempering and comprehending. Seventh heaven. Eighth heaven. Even though Hu Mainyang had stepped into the middle stage of the heaven immortal stage, she was still unable to bear it. Chun Hao's situation was much worse than hers, but what made Hu Mainyang unable to believe was that Chun Hao had no intention of resisting the heaven's punishment. If I don't resist the ninth heaven, I will be seriously injured. My minor heavenly punishment will not be able to compensate for the damage caused by his great heavenly punishment. When the time comes, if I fight with him, I will. Hu Mainyang thought to herself. Why? Are you afraid? Chun Hao suddenly said. Hearing Chun Hao's words, Hu Mainyang immediately frowned. Clearly, the terrifying heavenly punishment had made her muddle-headed. She had forgotten that Chun Hao was one with her and could sense her thoughts. Even if I'm seriously injured, I can still deal with you. She was still hesitating whether to resist the ninth heaven. But after hearing Chun Hao's words, Hu Mainyang gave up the idea of resisting. After all, resisting the heavenly punishment was much better for tempering and comprehending. In order to defeat Chun Hao, sacrificing the most powerful ninth heaven was not worth the loss. Besides, even if she was seriously injured, the minor heavenly punishment she had triggered had helped her advance to the advanced heaven celestial stage. How could she not be able to deal with Chun Hao, who had just stepped into the heaven celestial stage? Crack. Rumble. The ninth heaven's punishment descended. Chun Hao and Hu Mainyang were immersed in the thoughtless tranquility, wholeheartedly tempering and comprehending. The terrifying nine heavens punishment which seemed to be about to destroy the world, drowned them in almost an instant. Hu Meinyang, whose body was shimmering with complex and mysterious runes, was still fine. However, the low-level runes that Chunhao had condensed on his body were directly destroyed. They could not withstand the tempering of such violent energy. Condense. Chunhao, who was about to fall apart, shouted frantically in his mind. The runes had to be condensed again. Otherwise, he would miss this excellent tempering opportunity. After experiencing several lightning punishments, the runes on his body became stronger at an astonishing speed. Although they were still low-level runes, they had begun to evolve under Chunhao's refinement. Crack. Rumble. Condense again. Condense. Condense for me. Chunhao was destroyed again and again, but he was reformed again and again. Hu Meinyang, who was wholeheartedly immersed in tempering and comprehending, could sense how dangerous Chunhao's current state was even though she did not deliberately pay attention. She could say with certainty that at this moment, he was on the verge of turning into ashes at every moment. However, at this moment, Hu Meinyang was no longer worried. She was only surprised. She was surprised by the firmness and confidence of Chunhao's soul. If he didn't have absolute confidence in himself, how could Chunhao dare to do this when he was lingering on the edge of life and death? This was a madman, a perverted madman. Even Hu Meinyang was ashamed of her inferiority. Crack. Rumble. As the last wave of lightning disappeared, the void bloomed with dazzling light. Endless energy of heaven and earth and the heavenly Tao poured down like the Milky Way from the 9 heavens and directly poured into Chunhao's body. At the same time, Hu Meinyang precisely controlled the timing of her minor heavenly punishment and fed it back with energy. Chunhao's heavy injuries disappeared in an instant. His essence, energy, and spirit were replenished to a frightening degree. He was like an unsheathed sword that could cut through the sky. As for Hu Meinyang, her body seemed to be in good condition. At the same time, she had also received the minor heavenly punishment. However, her essence, energy, and spirit could not be restored to their peak state in an instant. Moreover, her body was severely injured internally. What are you doing? Hu Meinyang, who had long guessed Chunhao's intentions, immediately dispelled the state of being one with Chunhao. At the same time, her figure flashed, wanting to distance herself from Chunhao. However, she did not expect that the moment she moved, Chunhao also moved and pulled her back tightly. What shocked Hu Meinyang even more was that her soul was directly bound by Chunhao using some unknown method. I'll take your life while you're sick. You want to kill me? Hu Meinyang frowned. How can that be? I'm just doing what you did to me. Hee, don't be surprised. I realize that even now, I can't fight against you in your peak state. So, I can only take back some interest while you're weak. You dare. Ha ha. Chunhao laughed loudly. With a slight force, he pulled Hu Meinyang, who was imprisoned by a sneak attack, into his arms. Bang! Both of them fell to the ground, pressing Hu Meinyang under his body. At the same time, Chunhao activated his soul power again and cut off all the connection between Hu Meinyang and her body. She could only stare at him, but she could no longer move or speak. Doesn't it feel good? Chunhao's lips curled into a devilish smile. He looked straight at Hu Meinyang, whose face was red from anger and embarrassment, and said, "That's how I felt back then." As Chunhao spoke, he kissed Hu Meinyang's thin, tender lips under her gaze that was about to spit fire. Compared to Hu Meinyang, who had done this to Chunhao before, Chunhao was much more experienced. Not only was it a teasing kiss like a snake coming out of its hole, his large hands even wandered to Hu Meinyang's holy and towering peaks, and it was directly from under her clothes. Ha ha, this is so satisfying. Too bad it's too late. Otherwise, Chunhao suddenly separated from Hu Meinyang's body and rushed into the void. At the same time, he released Hu Meinyang's seal. Goodbye, bastard. I'm not done with you. Heaven and earth. When we meet again, you won't have the chance. It feels good. Quite big, quite soft and bouncy. I'm going to kill you. Boom. Hu Meinyang, whose face was red, suddenly chased after Chunhao at a terrifying speed. At the same time, she stretched out a huge hand that covered the sky. It's too late. Hiss. Chun-Hao directly entered the tribulation cloud and disappeared into one of the two miniature space-time gates that formed above the two of them. Soon after, he disappeared without a trace. Hu Meinyang, who was full of pent-up anger after being teased by Chun-Hao, let out a shrill scream. Unfortunately, she could only watch as Chun-Hao disappeared into the space-time gate. Bastard, see how I'll deal with you. Just you wait. Hu Meinyang knew that the space-time gate didn't have much time left. This was the space-time gate that was formed according to the brand she left when she entered. However, because of the heavenly punishment, it was only formed now. Therefore, she didn't dare to delay. She covered her breasts that had been ravaged and stepped into the gate angrily with a red face. Chapter 789. Hiss, hiss, hiss. In the core area of the faction's ruins, many people walked out of the enormous space-time gate. Whether it was the masters who had reached the heaven celestial stage or those who were still at the earth celestial stage, their auras were several times more powerful than before. When they came out, their faces were filled with excitement. Their eyes and minds quickly scanned the cultivators who had stepped out of the space-time gate to look for their acquaintances. Not yet. The surrounding cultivators stared expectantly at the people who stepped out of the space-time gate. Unfortunately, the space-time gate had been open for such a long time, but they still didn't see the people they wanted to see. After a full hour, the aura of the space-time gate began to weaken. Apparently, it would end soon, and fewer cultivators came out. Countless cultivators who were looking forward to it felt nervous, let alone Chun Shui, Helian Wuzi, Tantai Lien, Xiaoyu, the Flower Sisters, Long Ting, the Seven Women, Han Mei, Yun Wei, Fan Donglu, and Fan Dongsheng, as well as Chun Ling and Liang, who had come out with Helian Wuzi without the mark of the Gate of Space-Time. Except for Pan Long and Du Jing, all the members of A.O. Tian have arrived, except for God of Slaughter Chen Hao. Why hasn't he come out yet? The space-time gate is about to end. Did something happen to God of Slaughter Chen Hao after he disappeared with Hu Meinyang? Some people didn't know that Chun Hao had appeared later. In fact, most people didn't know. Chi. The space-time gate, which no longer had any cultivators, suddenly flashed with a wave of fluctuation. A cultivator stepped out of the space-time gate with an extremely excited expression. The moment he stepped out, countless divine thoughts locked onto him. That's awesome. That's awesome. The moment the figure appeared, he said excitedly. Immediately, he looked in the direction of Chun Shui and the others. His expression changed slightly, but he still flew toward Chun Shui and the others. Lan Feng, Chun Shui, Long Ting, the sisters Fan Dongsheng, Fan Donglu, and Yun Wei frowned slightly. Son of Destiny, do you have any treasures to give us? Sensing the powerful aura on Lan Feng's body, Long Ting stepped forward with a smile and stood in front of everyone. Her beautiful eyes were like crescent moons as she spoke in a carefree manner. Ahem. Yes, sisters-in-law, brothers and sisters, seniors, hello. Lan Feng cupped his fists awkwardly. Everyone was slightly taken aback. After the previous conflict with Lan Feng and the plundering of Lan Feng a few times, the crowd no longer hated him. On the contrary, they were very willing to see him. Every time they saw him, they would profit. However, they did not expect Lan Feng to take the initiative to come over this time. Moreover, the way he addressed the girls was very strange. Since when did he have such a good relationship with us? Boss Chun-Hao has saved my life many times. When I, Blue Peak, met him in the core district, I already applied to join Proud Heaven. He approved, taught me some of his ultimate techniques, and helped me take over an ancient legacy site. He should be coming out soon. Are you with my big brother? This. Chun Ling silently approached Lan Feng and asked in pleasant surprise. No, we're not together. It's just that in our area, when the space-time gate started to condense, Boss triggered an extremely terrifying heavenly punishment. The heavenly punishment has just ended, so I think he should be coming out soon. Voila! Lan Feng's words caused an uproar among the cultivators who were watching them. Heavenly punishment, and it's a heavenly punishment of the wrath of the heavens. Boss is too powerful. Wrath of the heavens. The surrounding cultivators were even more shocked at this moment. However, Chun Shui, Tantai Lien, Xia Yuyu, and the sisters were slightly taken aback. Clearly, the five of them did not know what heavenly punishment of the wrath of the heavens meant. The wrath of the heavens is a phenomenon that only appears when a heavenly immortal cultivator triggers the advancement of the Daluo Jingxian. Lightning takes the form of a legendary heavenly soldier. Its power is extremely terrifying. Helian Wuzi, who had obtained the memories of the endless cycle of reincarnation, explained. Chun Shui and the other girls were shocked. Since the heavenly punishment has ended, he should be coming out. Why hasn't he come out yet? Chun Ling frowned. Everyone looked nervously at the space-time gate that was getting weaker and smaller. When Boss triggered the heavenly punishment, whom Mainyang went over. It seems like she resisted the heavenly punishment together with Boss. As for the specific situation, because the heavenly punishment's pressure is too strong, I can't get too close, so I'm not too sure. The heavenly punishment needs some time. It should be soon. Who Mainyang? That woman is very strong. Big brother should be fine, right? Are you sure the heavenly punishment has ended normally? I'm sure, I can't be wrong. Don't worry, I didn't fight. It would have been fine if Lan Feng did not say this, but now that he said this, Qin Shui, Helian Wuzi, Tantai Lien, Xia Yuyu, and the others frowned. Their expressions were obviously conflicted. If they fought, they were not sure if Chun Hao was a match for Hu Mainyang. After all, when they stepped into the core area, Hu Mainyang had already triggered the heavenly punishment that was at the intermediate heavenly immortal stage. After a few decades, how strong would Hu Mainyang be? However, the fact that they did not fight also made the girls feel conflicted. Everyone hated that woman to the core. Moreover, with Chun Hao's character, even if his opponent was a woman, as long as he was strong enough, he would definitely kill her. Hu Mainyang would definitely kill Chun Hao and take the Dharma treasure of the Tao manifestation celestial fruit, but now, how could she not fight? Hiss! At this moment, the space-time gate that had shrunk to a radius of 1,000 feet flashed again. Everyone's gazes simultaneously turned over, and the noisy crowd instantly quieted down. A figure appeared before everyone's eyes. God of Slaughter, Chun Hao. Buzz, at this moment, the entire sect ruins was in an uproar. There was a trace of excitement on Chun Hao's handsome face. His slender figure was as straight as a sword, and the aura that naturally emanated from his body gave off an unfathomable feeling. God of Slaughter, Chun Hao. God of Slaughter, Chun Hao. It was unknown which love-struck woman was the first to scream, but it soon turned into countless excited howls. Hiss! Hiss, Hao! Big brother! Big brother! Chun Shui and the others rose into the air one by one, and Chun Hao's figure flashed and went to meet them. Let's go. Let's leave this place first. Chun Hao grabbed Chun Shui, who was in front of him. His eyes flashed with excitement as he swept his gaze across everyone's faces. He did not say anything when he saw Lan Feng. Hiss! 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 Then everyone turned into streaks of flowing light and left at lightning speed. Congratulations on your return, Master. Chun Hao led the group and flew for tens of thousands of miles. After making sure that no one was chasing them, the aircraft that had been hidden in the void suddenly appeared in front of everyone. Little Wisdom One opened the cabin door and said with obvious human emotions in its voice. Everyone did not feel anything. Even Chen Ling and Li Yang had seen it in Chun Hao's memory, but Lan Feng's eyes widened in surprise. At this moment, Lan Feng thought of many things, and he felt that Chun Hao was even more unfathomable. Where are the others? Chun Hao asked with a smile after he led everyone into the aircraft. Master, I asked them to explore the depths of the mind and the spiritual items of heaven and earth first. Edo Tai, Shizuku, and Black Tortoise also followed your instructions and went in together. I set some gathering coordinates in advance. Xiaoji number 1 replied. That's good. I'll modify you later. Yes, master. Xiaoji number 1 said excitedly in a mechanical voice. How? What happened after Hu Meinyang chased you? After some small talk, Chun Shui took the lead and asked the question that everyone wanted to know. It's a long story. Chun Hao had already prepared himself and did not hide his thoughts from the girls. Now, with the improvement of his cultivation, state of mind, and experience, especially the breakthrough in the cultivation of the secular sword principle and the secular heart sutra, Chun Hao was no longer the Chun Hao of the past. Even if he faced 7 girls at the same time, he could still be calm. Of course, the most important reason was that he did not think that there was anything between him and Hu Meinyang. As for the 2 intimate contact, one was forced and the other was forced revenge. It was just a means to regain the dignity of a man. Chun Hao felt no guilt in his heart, and he did not owe Hu Meinyang anything. On the contrary, Hu Meinyang owed him a lot. How difficult is it? Tell me. I'm very curious. How did you escape from her? To everyone's surprise, Han Mei Immortal, who seemed to have been reborn, stared at Chun Hao and asked with bright eyes. Huh, master? Chun Hao suddenly looked at Han Mei Immortal in surprise, with shock and horror in his eyes. Just now, when they exchanged greetings, Chun Hao also sensed that Han Mei Immortal's aura had become very strong, but he did not take it to heart. That was because every single one of them had become very strong, and all of them had stepped into the peak of the early stage of the celestial immortal realm. But now, the way Han Mei Immortal looked at him and the invisible aura emitted from her body directly shocked Chun Hao. Master has cultivated for thousands of years, obtained the inheritance of an ancient almighty, broke through the shackles, and stepped into the celestial immortal realm. I accidentally comprehended the Tao, and my state of mind had a fundamental change. I didn't expect you to be able to see this. Han Mei Immortal felt Chun Hao's probing and smiled slightly. On the surface, there was nothing unusual, but in the depths of her heart, she was surprised by Chun Hao's keen perception and understood why Chun Hao could sense her change. Master, you didn't just change a little, Chun Hao said, although Han Mei Immortal's eyes were very calm, and there was no aura released. But the moment Chun Hao met her eyes, he felt a kind of spiritual fluctuation from the depths of his soul, as if it had directly penetrated him. What did this mean? Big brother, Master Han Mei's spiritual altar is very strong, and also a little. At this moment, Liang suddenly said, Okay, what do I have to say? At your age, you are really strong. When you reach my age, I'm afraid you will already be Daluo Jinxian. How? You first, everyone is waiting to hear it. Han Mei Immortal interrupted Liang and said. Chapter 790. Chun Hao simply spoke of how he had been imprisoned by Hu Meinyang for over 20 years. However, he didn't speak of how Hu Meinyang had forced herself on him or how he had taken his final revenge. Even so, everyone was still shocked and frightened as they heard this. They were scared to death of Hu Meinyang's strength and schemes. It was clear that if they had been the slightest bit careless, their last parting with Chun Hao would have been their last. As Chun Hao was sharing his experiences with everyone, on Vast Universe Galaxy's second world, the entire human race was blown away by the changes in the Pagoda Steel rankings. At the same time, the other 9 galaxies also used different methods to stir up a super earthquake-level sensation. Countless names that were noticed rose up high, and the contribution points ranking had undergone an earth-shaking change. The information recorded in the token began to explode from the names that had been silent for a few months. It was densely packed, and countless people were dumbfounded by it. At the same time, the names of the fallen human cultivators also turned gray. In a short 2 hours, the 10 galaxies were shaken. The most shocking news of Vast Universe Galaxy was that the 4 wild dragons, Moling Takshu, White Cliff, Chun Lin, and dozens of other genius disciples of the temple had perished. What was even more shocking was that these extreme geniuses of humanity had all been killed by human cultivators. Chun Hao and Coiling Dragon were the most dazzling, followed by Proud Heaven's group of women and other unknown individuals. Only Chen Ling and Li Yong didn't have a human token, thus there wasn't any news about them. Just these news records were enough to stir the cultivators of vast universe galaxy. They were shocked to the extreme. But what left everyone even more stunned was that Chun Hao had risen to the top of the human race in a single move. Moreover, his contribution points were as high as a mountain, leaving everyone in the dust. That was simply unimaginable. The information recorded behind his name constantly changed, and it didn't repeat for 2 hours. Just how massive was this? The magic treasures obtained, the foreign cultivators killed, the combat strength of these foreign cultivators. It was extremely detailed, down to every single battle that Chun Hao had fought. Ranked second in contribution points was Coiling Dragon, followed by Helian Wuzi, Tantai Lian, and Xia Yuyu's fake names. Then it was Du Jing, Chan Shui, Long Ting, the sisters. Even Pandong Lu and Pandong Shang had reached the top ranks. Although Venerable Han Mei and Venerable Yun Wei weren't eye-catching, they were still in the upper middle ranks. The information recorded on the tokens was extremely comprehensive. All battles, conflicts, treasures obtained, inheritances, and so on would be recorded. If a human cultivator was killed by a human cultivator, the token of the person who was killed would automatically be transferred to the cultivator who killed the human cultivator. If they were killed by a non-human, their token would be directly transferred to a nearby human. This was a response between tokens, and the information would never be lost. It could be said that this was a complete record of the scene. Normal cultivators could only see information on the pagoda stele, which was automatically sent out after the Second World's Cortex Prime had compiled the information. However, the Alliance could use the information sent back to truly recreate every cultivator's experience in the pagoda that reached the level of the records set by the token. This day, for the 10 galaxies, especially for the human race, was destined to shake the entire cultivation world. The forces behind the 4 wild dragons, Bai Yin, Moling Takshu, Chen Lin, and countless other geniuses were furious. They entered the Alliance Center to check the detailed information of their disciples' tokens. It was also on this day that Chun Hao, Coiling Dragon, Chen Shui, Long Ting, Helian Wuzi, and the others became the targets of countless great forces to kill. Celestial Immortals. Originally, there were only a little more than 100,000 people who stepped into the Celestial Immortal realm, but now it has increased to 200,000. The 9 restrictions of Immortal Sealing is indeed the strongest holy land for training. That Chun Hao is too incredible. Not only did he step into the Celestial Immortal realm, but he also killed tens of thousands of foreign race cultivators and countless experts. Moling Takshu and Bai Yin are dead. Bai Yin was personally killed by Chun Hao. It is said that Moling Takshu, the 4 mad dragons, and the others didn't die by Chun Hao's hands, but they were all indirectly killed by Chun Hao. The few top forces have investigated the details. Coiling Dragon killed the most human geniuses, but it is said that it was also because of Chun Hao. That's right. I also heard that. According to the records, Chun Hao is known as the god of slaughter in the 9 restrictions of Immortal Sealing. Moreover, he is the leader of Proud Heaven. The second-ranked Coiling Dragon and the others in front are all members of Proud Heaven. There are also East Flow and East Rise from East Flow City. This is going to be interesting. So many geniuses of great forces have been killed. This has angered everyone. The forces that Chun Hao, Coiling Dragon, and the others belong to are probably going to suffer first. Limitless Star, Ying Star's Long family, and East Flow City's fan family should have been very excited after receiving the news. But now they could not feel the slightest bit of excitement. This was too crazy. Who could resist the suppression of so many great forces, especially on a weak planet like Limitless Star? Guan Nanshao, Lu Qingyang, and Chun Hao's eldest senior brother and second senior brother were all in a state of panic. Only the Man Huang tribe, after receiving the news of Coiling Dragon, felt great pressure, but also great satisfaction. And just as Limitless Star, Long family, and the others were worried, the vast universe St. Palace's temple master issued his strongest statement. Before the primitive mystic realm ends, any force that dares to start a civil war will be annihilated. For a moment, all the great forces that were ready to move quieted down. However, under the calm surface, the Wan family of the Four Wild Dragons, by Yan's by family, Moling Takshu's Eternal Life sect, and many other great forces were secretly meeting and forming a powerful force. Undercurrents were surging. All of this was caused by Chun Hao and Proud Heaven. Even more furious than vast universe St. Palace's Ghost Race, Dark Race, and the rest of the 9 major galaxies. Chun Hao, Coiling Dragon, and the others were directly put on the death list, and the highest level at that. For such a monstrous genius to appear in the human race and kill so many of their cultivators, no galaxy could tolerate this, let alone allow him to grow. For a moment, the spies of the various races in vast universe St. Palace began to move and lay out their plans. Without a doubt, when the primitive mystic realm ended and Chun Hao and the others came out, it would be the time for them to assassinate Chun Hao and the others, regardless of the cost. In the heaven immortal realm, decades or even centuries passed in the blink of an eye. After Chun Hao and the others came out of the 9 restrictions of immortal sealing, they began to cultivate as they went deeper into the primitive mystic realm. As for the human race, no one dared to provoke them. Even the united human army would greet Chun Hao and the others respectfully when they met them. Chi. In the primitive secret realm, Chun Hao and Tantai Lien were naked as they intertwined in a huge ancient cave in a desolate mountain. Fierce karmic fire seeped out of Tantai Lien's body and completely enveloped Chun Hao and her. On Chun Hao's naked body, runes flashed, and the entire cave was filled with extremely terrifying fluctuations. Hellfire burned the body, killing all evil. The boundless evil thoughts that had been hidden in the depths of Chun Hao's soul were being purified bit by bit. Chapter 791. Chun Hao, on the other hand, was clearly in the state of dual cultivation. However, his eyes were tightly shut, and he clenched his teeth. His expression was distorted, and it was obvious that he was in extreme pain. Chi. The hellfire gradually converged and faded. When it finally disappeared, Chun Hao's expression slowly relaxed. Tantai Lien's soft and delicate body wrapped around Chun Hao's body. Their souls were intertwined, and she asked softly, "How do you want more?" After becoming a celestial immortal and experiencing the burning of the fire of karma together, even though Tantai Lien was a caster, her mind was as one with Chun Hao's. She entered his heart demon dreamland and was baptized by Chun Hao's mortal world, causing her mind to become pure and flawless. Even in such a state, what filled her heart was only faint and sincere warmth. Of course, when you recover, we'll continue to burn. I didn't expect this evil thought to be so powerful. It's not that easy to completely erase it from the killing will. But I think it's time to change to Yu or Huan Lele. We've been in this state for more than 10 years. They should be waiting anxiously. Moreover, my hellfire realm is not very high, and your evil thought is too strong. It's still hidden in the killing will. If we want to completely refine it, it'll take too long. I think it'll be much easier when my hellfire realm is higher. Chun Hao. Tantai Lien was still persuading, and Chun Hao used his actions to express his intention. 1,000 years. It's only been more than 10 years. What's there to be afraid of? Although Yu and Huan Lele feel that they're almost at their limits, they haven't reached it yet, have they? It's not too late to start when there's no progress. Let them cultivate first. Okay. Under Chun Hao's fierce attacks, Tantai Lien almost moaned as her soul and body fused. Xiaolian looks so happy. I'm so envious. At the foot of the huge cave, Longting looked at the psychic mirror that Chun Hao and Tantai Lien had secretly condensed with the strength of the other girls. Her face was full of joy as she said eagerly, "Go ahead if you're envious. We won't stop you." Chun Shue's pretty face was also slightly red as she stared at the super thick-skinned Long Ting and said, "Little Shue, even if you and Little Wu go up, I'm afraid I don't have the qualifications. AI, my talent is too good. It's not my fault." Long Ting stretched her waist, her full breasts swaying gently. That expression, that appearance, not to mention Helian Wuzi and Chun Shui. Even Xia Yuyu and the sisters had the impulse to strangle her to death. She was too cocky. However, Long Ting's natural talent was extremely formidable indeed, especially after she obtained the ultimate technique of an ancient almighty figure, the Dream Heart Sutra. It caused Chun Hao to be extremely envious. This fellow's sleep was like an eternal dream, and her mental state, will, and body were able to improve extremely quickly. Until now, only Chun Shui and Helian Wuzi could compete with her. If Helian Wuzi wanted to defeat her, she could only use a power that did not belong to her, the chaotic divine light. What was even more abnormal was that Long Ting's Dream Heart Sutra could immerse everyone's mind into the true state of thoughtless tranquility, obtaining excellent cultivation results. "Let's go, it's about time. We should go out for a walk. Little Ji and the others have already sent back a message. There's news of your brother Long E." Chun Shui fiercely glared at Long Ting and suddenly said, "News of my brother? Little Shui, why didn't you say so earlier? Where is he?" "About 100 million miles from here. Even if Little Wu's flying device takes us there, it will still take some time. Your brother's condition is not good, but his life is not in danger for now." "Oh, then let's go quickly, but Wan Lele don't go. If Hao and Xiaolian recover, you two can go," Chun Shui said. "Sister Shui." The sisters blushed at the same time. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Immediately, Chun Shui, Helian Wuzi, Long Ting, and Xiaoyu turned into streams of light and disappeared from the cave, while the sisters looked at each other. "Sister, look at how excited you are." "You're not? I don't know how long we'll have to wait. Let's cultivate first." "No rush, no rush. Let's watch for a while and learn." This huge, ancient cave was the place Chun Hao chose to cultivate in seclusion, and it was also the base of everyone. Chunling, Liang, Du Jing, Fan Donglu, Fan Dongsheng, Venerable Yunwei, Venerable Han Mei, and Venerable Lan Feng, who had shamelessly sneaked in, all went out to gain experience. They also had modified aircraft following them, but they couldn't use it unless they were really in a desperate situation. Pan Long had reunited with everyone a few years ago, but he only sensed Chun Hao's aura and did not mention anything about fighting with Chun Hao, and directly went to cultivate alone. After Chun Hao and Tantai Lien fought for thousands of rounds, the two of them once again entered the true unity of spirit and body, and their essence, qi, and spirit were restored to their peak state at an extremely fast speed. Then, the hellfire burned again, and they entered the dual cultivation state. The karmic flames were the most profound and top-notch flames in the world, and Chun Hao was simply like a fish in water. This was because Chun Hao clearly noticed that the boundless karmic flames had a shocking complementary effect with the Mortal Sword Tao and Mortal Heart Sutra. The hellfire burned all evil, and evil was the evil thoughts born from the 7 emotions and 6 desires. It could be said that it had a strong restraining effect on the 7 emotions and 6 desires. If Chun Hao did not want to keep the slaughter sword spirit and only get rid of the evil thoughts in it, Tantai Lien would be able to burn the slaughter well into nothingness soon. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 years had passed. On this day, after Tantai Lien exhausted the hellfire countless times, the evil thoughts in Chun Hao's mind were finally completely purified. And at this moment, Chun Hao's glabella became as clear as jade and released the brightest crystal light in the world. With a thought, everything within thousands of miles was under his control. Any changes in the wind, the transformation of silkworms, the sprouting of withered grass, and other natural changes could not escape Chun Hao's senses. His heart was as clear as a mirror, and it illuminated the world. With the laws of heaven and earth in his heart, this feeling was much better than every time his soul transformed. Chun Hao wanted to be immersed in this state forever, and was unwilling to jump out. He had never felt this way before. Bitter cultivation, and now the bitterness was over and the sweetness was coming. So good. No wonder the experts in the heavenly immortal stage would be in seclusion for tens, hundreds, or even thousands of years. At this point, the bitterness is over and the sweetness is coming. There's utterly no need for obsession, and I'm afraid no cultivator would give up advancing. This feeling is really good. Unfortunately, I haven't reached it. How? You become much stronger now. Although I've benefited greatly from dual cultivation with you, and no matter if it's my soul, body, temperament, or comprehension, they've all improved at a shocking rate. I'm still far from you. Whereas you're at the same level as me, there's no rush. Dual cultivation is to make up for the gap between Tao companions, and in the end, you're neck to neck. There'll be a day when both of you can be like me. Big Brother will open up the path for both of you. Come, little Yin, this time, let's live a true life as husband and wife, and not cultivate. That's not the same. Tantile Yin felt something surrounded by her private parts suddenly become plump and full, and she instantly spoke with boundless shyness. No matter if it's a mortal or an immortal, it's difficult for them to transcend the 7 emotions and 6 desires. I only envy lovers and not immortals. The comprehension of mortals in the mortal world is the source. Perhaps that's the highest level of dual cultivation. Nonsense. Don't worry. Big Brother will be gentle after sealing my cultivation. You and I are both mortals. Ha! Chapter 792. Brother How. The 2 sisters, who were immersed in cultivation, stopped cultivating when they sensed the energy waves from Chun Hao's cave. They looked at the handsome Chun Hao and floated to Chun Hao's side in surprise. Where's sister Xiaoyan? Xiaoyan hasn't recovered yet. Huan Lele, have they gone out? Chun Hao asked as he held the 2 girls' slender waists. Yes, we've been gone for more than 10 years. Sister Shui asked us to stay. Lung Ning Li's face had a hint of shyness, but there was also a hint of excitement. Brother Hao, isn't it time to dual cultivate with us? Why? Can't wait? Chun Hao looked at the 2 charming little faces that were exactly the same. With a pa sound, he slapped both of their little butts and said, "It's been more than 20 years, and you're still improving. What's the rush? I'll teach you a secret technique first. Go into seclusion and cultivate. Whenever I reach the small success realm, I will start to dual cultivate with you." Oh, what secret technique? Brother Hao, we've used up all our potential. Our progress is like a snail. Lung Ningle said. Yes, Brother Hao. They're both stronger than us. I think it's not a problem of secret techniques anymore. It's a problem of our talent. Lung Ninghuan, who was relatively introverted, said. You too. Chen Hao smiled. Being weak for now doesn't mean you'll be weak forever. Dual cultivating now can help you catch up to them faster. But what about later? The gap will be even bigger. Do you think I don't want to dual cultivate with you? Moreover, you haven't used the Nirvana pills that Xiao Ting refined. All right, go into seclusion and cultivate. Chi. Chun Hao finished speaking, and 2 balls of white light entered Lung Ningle and Lung Ninghuan's foreheads. This is the great teleportation technique of the 3,000 Great Tao. It's very suitable for you. If you can cultivate it to minor accomplishment, you'll be invincible even if your combat power is weaker. You can come out of seclusion when you reach minor accomplishment. Oh, all right then. Chun Hao smiled as he watched the 2 beautiful sisters disappear into the independent cave abode. The beautiful sisters were once his god-granddaughters. Back then, in order to change their identities, they had wanted to cook rice with him. After so many years, the beautiful sisters had changed a lot under the influence of the other girls. Their charming nature had been well restrained, and they had become obedient girls. This made Chun Hao feel very good. He was full of tender affection for them. Because they were carefully managing their relationship with him, they knew the position in his heart. They knew that Chun Shui, Helian Wuzi, Xia Yuyu, and Tantai Lian were in his heart. Few, unsatisfied desires, sweet as malt syrup. If this kind of desire is allowed to spread, I'm afraid I'll become an evil spirit. 10 years, 50 years, 100 years, the girls Li Yong and Chun Ling, Pan Long, Du Jing, Lan Feng, Pan Donglu, and Pan Dongsheng, Master Celestial Han Mei and Master Celestial Yin Wei, as well as Long Yi, who joined the girls later, would return to this huge mountain peak that Chun Hao and the others had developed and condensed many cave residences. After a period of seclusion, they would go out again. The sisters used a full 30 years, but they still couldn't comprehend the great teleportation technique to the initial stage. However, their speed had already reached a terrifying level. After they came out, they also went out to train. Itoda, Rose Finch, Black Tortoise, and the Azure Dragon, White Tiger, and Kylan, who had joined forces with the others to reconstruct their true bodies with supreme Dharma powers when they arrived at this mountain peak. They also integrated the divine beast essence blood that Chun Hao had absorbed from the ancient divine beast blood pool. They truly possessed the power of the ancient divine beasts. With Itoda as the leader, they trained together. Itoda had the strong physical body of Guanu and had followed Chun Hao for many years. Under the cruel training of the old god and the treasure-hunting sword spirit, his talent was also extremely amazing. He had already stepped into the celestial stage. In addition, Chun Hao had given him the power to control the 5 divine beasts. His future was limitless. He would definitely grow into one of Chun Hao's trump cards. Endless battles, killing, treasure snatching, and never getting tired of it. The situation was constantly changing, and there was a bloody storm. Chapter 793. Unless there was no other choice, everyone would train alone. Even Chen Ling and Li Yong, the Fandonglio and Fandongxing sisters, would sometimes train separately. Proud Heaven's name had shaken the primitive mystic realm when he came out of the 9 restrictions. Now 100 years had passed, and Proud Heaven was like the sun in the sky. No one dared to challenge him for the time being. This was not because Ao Tian was so powerful that he could dominate all the cultivators in the 10 galaxies in the primitive mystic region. Instead, it was because Ao Tian's boss, Chun Hao, was still nowhere to be seen. Of course, the most important thing was that Proud Heaven's members came and went like ghosts. Although there were only a few of them, the smaller alien tribes avoided them like snakes and scorpions. Large groups wanted to surround and kill Proud Heaven, but they could not find him. The alien tribes that provoked Chun Hao and Proud Heaven kept appearing, but Proud Heaven was not stupid enough to meet them head-on. But as time passed, the alien tribes' provocation groups became stronger and larger. This forced Proud Heaven's members to avoid them many times. At this time, the countless human armies also became larger and larger. Only in this way could they resist the alien tribes' huge armies. In the core area of the primitive mystic realm, where the spirit chi of heaven and earth and mineral veins were the most abundant, the 10 galaxies also spontaneously started to form their own camps, forming an alliance. The human cultivators' cries for Proud Heaven's members became louder and louder. They hoped that killing God Chun Hao would appear and lead Proud Heaven's human alliance army. But killing God Chun Hao and Proud Heaven's members did not respond, nor did they expand Proud Heaven's forces. They did not establish any forces, and no one even knew where their base was. The human race did not have a true expert to lead them. When Chun Hao was in seclusion for 200 years, Hu Mainyang appeared. Her tyrannical strength and thousands of die-hard fans pushed Hu Mainyang to the position of the leader of the human race, the #1 expert. It was only then that the human race's situation truly improved. In 200 years, the powerful god race, the insect race, and the tyrants of the 9 races all showed their terrifying strength. Even the powerful Hu Mainyang was under more and more pressure. A storm was coming. It's been 200 years. What is he doing? On a towering and majestic mountain peak, Dao laws surged and immortal light lingered. Hu Mainyang sat cross-legged and stared at the deep and vast void from afar as she muttered to herself. 10 galaxies have gathered in the central continent. Endless resources have already been extracted. Doesn't he know how big the harvest is? Hu Meinyang frowned as she pondered. Now, the 10 major galaxies had gathered together to form an equal force. Even the strongest tyrants could not monopolize all the resources. At the same time, no galaxy would dare to fight with another galaxy. Once it happened, the other galaxy would reap the benefits. Unless he comes out of seclusion and leads proud heaven to help us in the fight for the imperial jade marrow mine. Could it be that you're afraid of my revenge, so you don't dare to come out? When she recalled the humiliation Chun Hao had given her before leaving the 9 restrictions, Hu Meinyang's beautiful brows frowned slightly while her gaze flickered. After that, she denied her own thoughts and said, with his character, he shouldn't. Even if he isn't a match for me now, I can't control him completely even if I want to. Moreover, he's clearly aware that I won't do anything to him at all. Then why hasn't he made an appearance for 200 years? What a bastard. Hu Meinyang really did not understand. He had just stepped into the heavenly, immortal realm. If he had been outside the primitive secret realm, he could have stayed in seclusion for 1,000 years, let alone 200 years. But in the powerful primitive secret realm, where the spiritual qi and heavenly Tao were thick, the speed of cultivation was several times faster than outside. Let alone 200 years, even a few decades would be enough to consolidate one's cultivation. Moreover, there were countless treasures and resources in the primitive secret realm. Such an opportunity would not come again if one missed it. Who would waste so much time in seclusion? But there had been no news of Chun Hao for 200 years. I may be strong, but there are 10 battles. If I'm lucky, I'll meet the weakest Dark Demon clan and get a share of the loot. If I'm unlucky, the human clan will have no share in the Imperial Jade Marrow Mine. Killing God, Chun Hao. Sigh, what kind of hero is he? Even now, he and Proud Heaven are just keeping to themselves. Imperial Jade Marrow. Sigh, I'm afraid the human clan won't have a share. If Chun Hao and the others hadn't killed the 4 wild dragons, Moling Takshu, Baiyin, and dozens of other top geniuses, we wouldn't be in such a passive position right now. We can't even pick out 10 true experts. Hero? What kind of hero is this? Imperial Jade Marrow. Even a drop is enough to transform us. Unfortunately, only Hu Meinyang can win 1 battle. As for the other 9 battles, if we meet the Dark Demon clan, we might win a few. But don't hold on to hope. It's basically impossible for us to get it. Yes, Hu Meinyang is known as the top expert of the 10 galaxies. But the current situation is not the time for individual strength. At this point, no one wants to start a war between galaxies. Only a fair battle can decide who gets it. I really don't understand. Chun Hao, Coiling Dragon, and the others clearly have the strength to fight for the human clan. Why aren't they willing to side with the human clan? As long as they win, they'll get a share of the Imperial Jade Marrow Mine by the human clan. Look, Hu Meinyang, we've already spread the news. There's no way Proud Heaven's people don't know. Let's see if they're willing to fight. There's still a month to go, and there's no news. It's unlikely they'll have any hope. The Central Continent is vast and boundless. I heard that Proud Heaven's people are all alone. They're being chased by armies from other galaxies. I don't know where Chun Hao is in seclusion. Even if they want to come, they won't make it in time. Damn it. If I were that strong, I'd risk my life to fight for the Imperial Jade Marrow. If I succeeded, even 1,000th of the Imperial Jade Marrow would be a fortune Daluo Jingxian would never be able to obtain in his lifetime. Around the mountain peak, within a radius of tens of thousands of miles, countless human cultivators were gathered in groups of 3 to 5, discussing with each other. Chun Hao, the god of slaughter, and the other members of Proud Heaven had become the hottest topic among the human cultivators. 3 months ago, in the heart of the mountain range, some cultivators had discovered a vein of Imperial Jade Marrow. When the news spread, it caused a huge stir among the cultivators in the 10 galaxies. Imperial Jade Marrow was a supreme-grade, saint-class spirit of heaven and earth. A single drop of it could transform a heavenly immortal. How much was it worth? The cultivators in the 10 galaxies didn't hesitate at all. War was about to break out. In the end, When everyone realized that they couldn't monopolize the Imperial Jade Marrow, the leaders of the 10 galaxies decided to negotiate. Chapter 794. It was divided into zones, but the zones were only 100,000 miles in radius. It was too small for the large number of cultivators in the 10 major galaxies. Therefore, the powerful tyrants, Protoss, and insect tribes decided to eliminate 5 galaxies. The remaining 5 galaxies would receive a corresponding share of the zone according to their ranking. The competition was that each galaxy would send 10 people to fight. In the first round, the 5 galaxies would be eliminated by drawing lots. The remaining 5 galaxies would receive 30%, 25%, 20%, 15%, and 10% of the Emperor Jade Marrow mine respectively according to their ranking. Whoosh! A stream of light streaked across the sky and landed on a huge, majestic mountain. How long will it take for them to return? A young girl with a graceful figure appeared in front of a huge, circular object that was impossible to see in the cultivation world and asked directly. Her figure was graceful, and she looked even more otherworldly, like a banished immortal. Her lively and mischievous eyes were incompatible with her otherworldly aura. This young girl was Chun-Ling. Beep, beep, beep. The fastest is Blue Peak. They'll be back in about half a month. The others will be back in a month. The round object was the brain of the entire mountain. It was also the intelligent center of the mountain that Chun Hao and the others worked together to condense the entire mountain into a powerful signal transmission receiver. Where's my senior brother? Your senior brother hasn't activated the aircraft yet. The last message he sent was 3 days ago. The distance is too far. If he starts to return now, it will take half a year. Based on the current trajectory, he won't be back for the time being. Has Big Brother ever woken up? No. Oh hiss. After Chun-Ling finished speaking, her figure disappeared without a sound. Immediately, she appeared in front of Chun Hao's cave abode. Her beard suddenly emitted a dazzling light. Like tentacles, it gently took root on the restriction of Chun Hao's cave abode. Condense. Hiss, hiss, hiss. In less than an hour, the tentacles of the beer silently penetrated the seal that Chun Hao had casually set up without triggering any restriction. Following Chun-Ling's voice, a figure that looked exactly like her appeared in the cave abode. Haha. Outside, Chun-Ling's eyes shone with excitement. She smiled and said, "The 5th stage, spiritual god completion. Passing it to Big Brother will be much faster than him cultivating on his own." Voila! Inside the cave, the boundless spirit spring broke open. The so-called spirit deity Chun Hao directly swam towards Chun Hao, who was at the core of the spirit spring. Linga. When they were 10,000 feet away, waves suddenly surged, and Chun Hao's slightly surprised voice rang out. Soon after, the originally naked Chun Hao immediately put on his clothes and said, "Linga, you little girl, don't you know that I'm in closed-door cultivation? What are you doing here?" Hee. Big Brother, I'm not nervous, so why are you nervous? You, what haven't I seen before? Chun-Ling said with a smile. You little girl. Chun Hao was speechless. Back then, Chun Hao had peeped at many of his memories. Indeed, Chun-Ling didn't have any secrets from her. However, this shouldn't be the case. After all, they were siblings and had already grown up. However, shortly after, Chun Hao's expression turned slightly startled as he asked, "You're a spiritual deity?" You can tell. Big Brother, you're so strong. Ling was the first to break through to the 5th level. I'll give this spiritual god to you. Give it to me? Don't mess around. I can't take it. Chun Hao immediately frowned. The spiritual god was a clone that could be condensed from one's spiritual sense after one's soul cultivation reached the 5th level. It was as if one's spiritual sense was reconstructing a golden body. Regardless of appearance or strength, it was no different from the original body. However, it was condensed from spiritual sense. Although Chun Hao hadn't cultivated it, he also knew the importance of the spiritual god to Chun-Ling. How could Chun Hao possibly take it? Big Brother, this is Ling Er's agreement with Senior Brother. Once I enter the 5th level, I'll give you the spiritual God. Big brother, you should know that once we enter the 6th level, senior brother and I will become true cultivators of the extreme Tao. There will be no more opportunities for change. Therefore, before you comprehend the fusion method of the two extreme Taos, even if we enter the 5th level, we can't refine the spiritual God. Giving this spiritual God to you will allow you to grasp its mysteries at the fastest speed. It will definitely be helpful for you to comprehend the two extreme Taos. Chunling directly went to Chunhao's side and held Chunhao's hand. She raised her small face and spoke with a firm gaze. Ling don't mess around. I can't accept this. Don't worry. I'll try to comprehend it at the fastest speed. Chunhao said with a frown. Big brother, it's already too late. You severed it? Chunhao's expression changed. Chunling and Liang had already imparted the complete soul inheritance to Chunhao. Although Chunhao hadn't reached the 6th level, he was very familiar with the situation of each realm. The condensed spiritual God was controlled by the original body. However, if the original body severed the spiritual sense connection with the spiritual God, then the spiritual God would become an independent existence of pure energy. Moreover, it would be impossible to merge again. As time passed, the energy would dissipate and return to nothingness. Or it would be absorbed by the cultivator as pure spiritual sense energy. This was because even if she had all the memories and laws of the original body, she didn't have a soul imprint. Big brother, Ling peeked into your memories and knows what kind of person you are. Perhaps you will look down on Ling but Ling still wants to say that I also love you. If I do this, Ling original body will no longer have any regrets. After Chun Ling finished speaking, she tightly hugged Chun Hao as if she wanted to rub herself into Chun Hao's body. However, a beam of light converged between her eyebrows and pierced through Chun Hao's forehead. Majestic and pure soul force began to rapidly merge with Chun Hao's mind. Big brother, you're not speaking. Are you blaming Linga? Is there any use even if I blame you? Then blame me. It's just that there's no way to blame Ling, right? However, none of this is important. Ling has said what she wanted to say. That's enough. Chun Ling calmed down and revealed a smile as she stared at Chun Hao. The light between her eyebrows was still rapidly flowing into Chun Hao's mind. Her body was also becoming more and more crystalline. You're comfortable and have no inner demons, but what about your big brother? After what you've done, how can I face little brother Yang in your original body? Forget it. Even if I tell you, you won't know. Big brother, you can do whatever you want. You'll definitely be able to easily eliminate your inner demons. Moreover, you also have sister-in-law Xiaoyan's dual cultivation karmic fire. Ling already thought of this. As for senior brother, senior brother was the one who advised me to do this after knowing my true nature. It has nothing to do with you. It's completely between the two of us. Big brother, are you just going to let my soul force pour into you for nothing? If you cut off the connection with my original body, I still have 7 days to live. It's just that this way, what you can comprehend is too little. Chapter 795. Then what do you want? In any case, my true self won't know, and senior brother won't know either. This is a secret between you and me, so just make good use of it. You have a clear conscience, and I'm perfectly willing. Just let me be your Tao companion for 7 days. But I'm not Ling. Big brother, what are you laughing at? Don't you like Linga? You're my sister. How can I not like you? But it's time for you to be spanked. Annihilate. Rumble. As Chun Hao said the word destroy, huge waves suddenly surged in the cave abode, and all kinds of strange phenomena suddenly disappeared. Chun Hao was still the naked Chun Hao sitting cross-legged in the spirit spring, but his spirit platform emitted a dazzling light that enveloped the entire cave abode. Outside the cave abode, Chun Ling, who was sitting cross-legged with her spirit platform also emitting a dazzling light, suddenly screamed, and a palm formed from heaven and earth spirit Qi ruthlessly slapped her on the butt. At the same time, Chun Hao's voice sounded in her mind. Ling, if you dare to use this kind of illusion to test me in the future, see how I'll deal with you. I'll seal you for a month first. Ah, big brother, don't. Ling, just want to test your soul realm. The mirror has no platform. Although it's an illusion, you'll be caught in a trap of your own, making if you do this. This is not a joke, Chun Hao said sternly. In a majestic and terrifying Tao, law condensed out of thin air and directly sealed Chun Ling. Big brother, I know I'm wrong. Don't seal me. Illusions are born from the heart, so I'll destroy it for you. Comprehend it well and bear with it for me. Hiss. After Chun Hao finished speaking, his divine will disappeared, and Chun Ling sank into the rumbling Sanskrit of the great Tao. Emotions, desires, and reincarnation flowed endlessly, and endless illusions began to appear in Chun Ling's mind. Chun Ling wanted to cry, but she couldn't. It seemed like she had gone too far this time. Inside the cave, Chun Hao slowly opened his eyes. After 200 years of comprehension and 200 years of bitter cultivation, Chun Hao still hadn't comprehended Tao. Naturally, he hadn't been able to combine all the unique skills into one. However, his strength had improved tremendously. Even though he had only advanced to the peak of the initial stage of the Heaven Celestial stage, Chun Hao was sure that the current him could easily defeat the 5 of him 200 years ago. Am I that good? Chun Hao murmured. If he had not seen through the illusion created by Chun Ling at the last moment, even Chun Hao did not know what he would have done. The higher a cultivator's realm is, the higher the requirement for one's state of mind. The inner demon that is born will also be stronger. Even a peerless figure like the Misty Rain Pavilion's ancestor was unable to eliminate his inner demon in the end, which led to the birth of the devil fetus. Fortunately, the devil fetus was not born for a long time. It was also fortunate that the Extreme Tao Senior's divine sense intervened. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Alas, that mischievous little girl Ling, probably didn't realize at all that the illusion she condensed was the inner demon that was hidden in the depths of her heart. Chun Hao pondered in his heart. The Grand Tao is emotionless. I thought I'd truly understood it, but now, perhaps only emotionlessness is the shortcut to the peak of the Grand Tao. Emotionlessness allows one to do as one pleases and be unfettered. Inner demons aren't inner demons any longer, and one can vent one's latent desires as one pleases. But such a person at the peak of the Grand Tao is probably a devil in the end. The Grand Tao is 1 foot tall, while the devil is 10 feet tall. Perhaps this is the principle. Chun Ling's surprise caused Chun Hao to fall into deep thought, and he seemed to have comprehended something. I don't seek the Grand Tao, nor do I fall into the Devil Tao. So long as I adhere to my principles and heart, see my true nature clearly, there are things to do and things not to do. No matter how difficult it is, I'll still step foot onto the peak of the Grand Tao. Nothing can stop me, and it's impossible to change me. This is my Tao, the path between the Grand Tao and the evil Tao. Bang! At this moment, Chun Hao's state of mind and will suddenly trembled violently, and his 200 years of closed-door cultivation had finally started to transform. Chun Ling, what are you doing? It's none of your business. Move aside. Half a month later, the son of destiny, Lan Feng, returned. The moment he stepped into the cave, his eyes widened in shock. He saw Chun Ling's face contorted, as if she was enduring boundless pain. Moreover, no matter how he called out to her, it was useless. After a few hours, Chun Ling finally opened her eyes with great difficulty. When she seemed to have regained consciousness, Lan Feng asked her a question, but Chun Ling fiercely replied with a single sentence. However, it was only a single sentence, and she once again screamed miserably and fell into a state of madness. Cough, cough. My great aunt, what are you cultivating? You seem to be in a lot of pain. This is too crazy. Even your essence, energy, and true essence have been completely sealed. As expected of a soul cultivator, I'm not willing to endure this kind of pain. Lan Feng looked at Chun Ling's appearance and sensed the aura on her body. There were no signs of qi deviation at all, And it was precisely because of this that he broke out in cold sweat for Chen-Ling. Half a month passed in this manner before Chen-Ling finally regained consciousness. The terrifying aura that was released from his body, especially the pressure of his soul, caused Lan Feng to prostrate himself in admiration of Chen-Ling even more. Unfortunately, before he could say a word of praise, Chen-Ling disappeared from his sight and entered her own cave. She immediately immersed herself in cultivation and comprehension. The Imperial Chalcedony. Damn it, I'm tempted. With the Imperial Chalcedony, I can be reborn in a short time. The moment the tall and majestic figure stepped into the cave and saw Lan Feng, he clamored, "Lan Feng, tell me quickly, what's going on? It's always been us bullying others. No one dares to bully us. Damn it, no matter who it is, I'll help you destroy them." Woo woo woo. Brother Pan, no matter what, we have to persuade Boss to come out of the mountain. I was the one who discovered it first. Damn it, it was snatched away by the god race. If I wasn't wise enough to spread the news quickly, it would definitely have been taken over by the god race. Lan Feng was instantly moved. His face was gloomy as he spoke miserably. However, he would never acknowledge Pan Long as his martial uncle. These were two different matters. One what? Be more specific. Are you serious? Brother Pan, didn't you hear anything at all? Martial uncle received your message and rushed back immediately. What kind of news is there? Hurry up and tell me. Pan Long said. Lan Feng was very moved, but at the same time, he was speechless. How big of a nerve did one have to be to not even hear about the news that shook the cultivators of the 10 major galaxies in the primitive mystic realm? Lan Feng hurriedly explained everything in detail. Damn it, what should I say about you? Senior brother said you're the son of Providence, but I think you're the son of misfortune who discovered treasures for others but couldn't get them. The fight for the 10 major galaxies. Wait for the sisters-in-law to come back. It doesn't matter if Boss comes out of seclusion or not. With the current situation, as long as we make a move, the human race will be number one. Damn it, from today onwards, please call me Martial Uncle. The god race is killing God. In the future, we'll kill the god race. Damn it, the Imperial Chalcedony. We got all. That's impossible. Only the two of us came back. How much longer are they going to take? How's Boss? Chapter 796. Chen-Ling is back too, but she seems to be cultivating some terrifying technique. She entered the cave abode again yesterday. Sister-in-law and the others will be back in 2 days. Liang received the message too late, so he won't be able to make it back in time. As for Boss, he didn't leave any message for the artificial intelligence system. I'm not sure either. He should still be in seclusion. Senior brother has been in seclusion for 200 years. What's he doing? I really don't understand. That's right. 200 years of seclusion is a little too long in the primordial mystic realm. If only Boss could come out. With Boss's reputation, we would definitely get a lot more. Humain Yang and some of the commanders and division commanders of the human race had already issued an announcement. 30% of the resources obtained by the human race would be given to the 10 experts who participated in the battle. The distribution of the resources would depend on their overall performance. The more victories they had, the stronger their opponents, and the greater the proportion of resources they would obtain. After the battle, the distribution would be based on the results. 3 days later, other than Liang, everyone, including Long Yi, had returned. At this time, Chen-Ling walked out of his cave. Tantai Lien used the inheritance of the phoenix and the telepathy that came from her dual cultivation with Chun Hao to summon him. Just when everyone thought they would have to wait for a long time or that Chun Hao would not come out, Chun Hao appeared silently in front of everyone. Senior brother. How, Boss, big brother, after 200 years. Everyone called out happily when they saw Chun Hao coming out of seclusion. Only Chen-Ling pouted and lowered her head. She did not dare to look at Chun Hao directly. Brother Long. Chun Hao stepped in front of the excited Long Yi. Chun Hao, who had been in seclusion, had not seen Long Yi's return. Brother, I'm really depressed that I missed the chance to enter the 9 restrictions. Now, the gap between me and all of you is too big. I'm ashamed. Long he smiled. He did not change the way he addressed Chun Hao because of how powerful he was. After all, Chun Hao was basically his brother-in-law now. A few years earlier or later doesn't make a difference. Don't worry about it. I'll give you something later, Chun Hao said. Then, he looked at everyone and continued. Why are you all back? Could be something big? Chun Hao had completely retracted his aura. Even Chun Shui, with her powerful soul perception and perception ability, was unable to sense Chun Hao's depth, let alone understand the effects of Chun Hao's 200 years of seclusion. Boss, stop. This time you have to do something. That is a treasure trove that I discovered for you. Lan Feng was the first to cry out. Oh, the treasure was snatched by someone? Chun Hao said with a frown. Chun Hao wouldn't care if others said this, but if Lan Feng said it was a treasure land, then there must be some extremely powerful treasures. In Chun Hao's mind, Lan Feng was the son of destiny. It's like this. Chun Shui briefly explained the situation to Chun Hao. There's less than a month's time. If we want to participate, we must set off immediately. There's still time. We all feel that we should participate. Chun Shui said. The Emperor Jade Marrow is an extremely rare sage grade spirit herb. If we can obtain it, it will be greatly beneficial to all of us. I really didn't expect that the Emperor Jade Marrow would appear there. It should be formed after the collapse of the universe and the compression of energy after countless years. Otherwise, the Emperor Jade Marrow area, with a radius of 100,000 miles in the central continent, should have been discovered before the collapse of the universe. Helian Wuzi said, Senior brother, don't tell me you don't want to participate? Coiling Dragon looked at Chun Hao and said, Why are you retracting your aura so fiercely? We're all on the same side. Before Chun Hao could reply, Venerable Han Mei stared at Chun Hao and said, Hao is about to advance, right? Master's eyes are like torches. Disciple is indeed about to advance to mid-stage Sky Immortal. Chun Hao smiled and said, Even if you don't want to go, I still want to go. You all know the situation of the alien race experts, right? Are you confident? Senior brother, I'm not bragging. Except for that bitch Humaneong. Cough cough, except for her and the number one expert of the divine race, the number one expert of the insect race, and the number 1 and 2 experts of the tyrants, I probably won't lose to any alien race experts. Coiling Dragon said with a wild expression. He indeed had the right to be arrogant, to only have a few opponents among the countless cultivators in the 10 major galaxies. Humaneong's strength is basically recognized as the number 1 expert in the 10 major galaxies. That woman is very abnormal. When Coiling Dragon mentioned Humaneong, he was obviously very emotional, but he restrained himself a lot. Although this guy was boorish, after knowing the situation between Chun Hao and Humaneong, he didn't dare to call her bitch anymore. What if Chun Hao secretly became Humaneong's guardian? Little Shui, Little Wu, Little Lien, Little Sister Ting, what about you? If I go all out, I'm about the same as Coiling Dragon. Chun Shui said, If I use the chaotic divine light, I'll be a little stronger. Helian Wuzi's cold little face shone with absolute confidence. Although she was still herself after the awakening of the endless cycle of reincarnation inheritance, her state of mind and knowledge had been greatly improved. That's for sure. Sister-in-law Little Wu's chaotic divine light is too terrifying. Coiling Dragon interrupted with lingering fear. I should be about the same. In the past 100 years, my strength has increased a lot. Tantai Lien said softly. She had inherited the Buddhist karmic fire inheritance and dual cultivated with Chun Hao for nearly 30 years. She had benefited a lot. Do I even need to say it? Long Ting raised her chin slightly and waved her fist at Chun Hao. That's good. Huan Lele, as long as you don't meet the strongest few, you should have no problem fighting one-on-one. Chun Hao said, Brother Hao. Lung Ning Huan and Lung Ning Lu called out anxiously when they heard Chun Hao's words. Have confidence in yourselves. Your speed talent and great teleportation technique are enough. Du Jing, what about you? Boss, I'm very strong. In the past 200 years, I'm the one who has improved the most, although I'm still not as strong as Brother Pan. Brother Pan won't dare to say that I'm unorthodox. Damn it, what are you so proud of? I'll teach you a lesson later. Coiling Dragon glared at Du Jing. It was obvious that he had suffered at Du Jing's hands before. Big brother, what about Ling? Chen Ling couldn't help but stare at Chun Hao pitifully. You're naturally one of them. Brother Long, Lan Feng, Dong Sheng, and Dong Lu are still weak, so you don't have to participate. Just follow them and watch. The two masters don't have to participate either. Chapter 797. Cough cough. Boss, we only have 10 people. I'm afraid Humain Yang and the other experts won't agree. Lan Feng said, since we're going to fight, we want 30% of the human race. Chen Hao glanced at Lan Feng and said, do they dare to disagree? No matter how unwilling Humain Yang and the others are, they will be forced to agree. As the leader of the human race, she can get quite a lot of the remaining 70%. As long as we don't fight with her for this, it's fine. Looking at the current situation, if we don't fight, no matter how powerful Humain Yang is, the human race will be eliminated directly. If we fight, we won't be able to get first place, but we will definitely be in the top 3. What do you think the human race will choose? That's true. Everyone nodded. However, but at this moment, Han Mei Immortal, who had been silent all this time, suddenly frowned and said, if you do this, you can get 30%. But I think it's a bit inappropriate. Master, if you have something to say, just say it. You don't have to be polite with me. Chen Hao said. Okay, then I'll say it. First, the information you know is only part of the information. Moreover, not all experts will expose themselves. This battle will not be so simple. This is not a battle. Can you guarantee the safety of all of them? If anything happens, it will be too late to regret it. Master is right. However, the danger of life and death is also a kind of training for us. How can we be afraid? Chen Hao said, yes, Master Han Mei, there's nothing to be afraid of. To be able to have a fair fight with experts, I can't ask for anything more. Damn it, all these years I've been surrounded and killed by teams. Although I've killed a lot, I've never been able to fight to my heart's content. The warlike Pan Long also chimed in. Okay, let's not talk about this. Another point, if you're so high-profile and powerful, what will the human race cultivators think? Cough cough, this. Master, do we still care what they think? Although Chun Hao didn't want to refute Han Mei Immortal, he couldn't help but ask. Fortunately, it was Immortal Venerable Han Mei who said that. If it was Coiling Dragon and the others, Chun Hao flipped out. What do their thoughts have to do with us? If you do that, proud heaven, your glory of fighting for the human race will be destroyed. Master knows that you don't care about this at all. But to the Wuji Star, to your family and friends, to Du Jing, Pan Long, Dong Sheng, Dong Lu, and other forces, it is not a good thing. You have to care. Back when their master had asked them to reform Proud Heaven, he had used that slogan to build momentum. After all, you've killed so many top geniuses that even the Holy Sanctum wouldn't be able to protect you. Until you reach the pinnacle of power, you'll never be able to live a carefree life. That's how the world works. Although the monarch Jade Marrow is good, it's just a worldly possession. A little is enough. More is just wealth. Do you still lack it? Venerable Han Mei continued. This, to place oneself in the position of being the enemy of the entire world, is truly unwise. Master thinks that you should learn from Humain Yang. Even if you have to pretend, you have to be righteous to the end, at least on the surface. Moreover, it's best to form outer members of Proud Heaven and use the remaining few hundred years in the primitive secret realm to make friends with some cultivators who are worth making friends with. Take them in as core members and turn Proud Heaven into a force in vast universe galaxy, not just in the primitive secret realm. That way, when you go out, there will be a lot of voices supporting you. The forces behind you will also be under a lot less pressure. Even if the sects of the geniuses you killed do not want to lose face, at that time, they will not be able to openly deal with you. Venerable Han Mei slightly paused and looked at Chun Hao. Otherwise, your father won't be able to hold on. Think about it carefully. Father, Venerable Han Mei's words shocked Coiling Dragon, Du Jing, Pan Dong Lu, Pan Dong Sheng, Long Yi, and the others. They looked at Chun Hao in surprise. The girls were relatively better. Cough, cough. Chun Hao looked at Venerable Han Mei and scratched his head awkwardly. He said, "All right, since Master said so, then it's indeed my lack of consideration. This time, we'll cooperate with the human race. As for the members of Proud Heaven, my point of view is still to value quality over quantity. Only those who are trustworthy and take the initiative to join us, you can pull them in. It's best if they're your old friends. Master, is this okay?" "And this is barely okay." "All right, then let's go. Little Shui, you come with me. I've been in seclusion for 200 years and have some enlightenment. It's suitable for you." After Chun Hao finished speaking, he pulled Chun Shui and took the lead to step out of the cave. Everyone followed behind. Chi chi chi. One after another, aircraft appeared in the void. Chun Shui's face was slightly red. Before Chun Hao began his seclusion, he had refined flying devices for everyone, and there were a few spare ones. Even when they were rushing, everyone had their own independent space to cultivate. Now, Chun Hao asked her to come with him in front of everyone. Chun Shui was naturally happy in her heart, but she was also a little embarrassed. Not to mention the others. Even Chun Shui herself suspected that Chun Hao's words were just an excuse. Who knew what he wanted to do with her? After entering the flying device, Chun Shui, who was wearing a blue dress, said directly, "Hao, if you ask me to come alone, they will have some ideas. What's wrong with having ideas? We don't distinguish between each other. We don't distinguish between big and small. But there should be a priority, right? How can there be absolute fairness? If it's really absolutely fair, then you can all come with me and do nothing. If you all don't come with me, how boring. What's more, I did ask you to come with me because I have something to do." Chun Hao took Chun Shui into his arms and said confidently, "Oh." After Chun Hao finished speaking, he directly pressed his lips on Chun Shui's delicate lips. Chun Shui wanted to say something, but she was sealed. She immediately fell into Chun Hao's fierce and seemingly extremely hungry kiss. For 200 years, Chun Hao, who had been in seclusion, did not feel the passage of time at all. However, Chun Shui, who had spent most of her time in training, had experienced a lot. Chun Hao's kiss directly defeated Chun Shui, and she responded passionately to Chun Hao. "Is that it?" This lasted for more than 10 minutes. When Chun Hao hugged Chun Shui tightly and didn't dare to move again, fearing that he wouldn't be able to control himself, Chun Shui also hurriedly transmitted a message through her divine sense to distract herself. The medicinal efficacy that had been suppressed by the Nirvana pill for many years was faintly showing signs of flaring up at this moment. This is the most important thing. Also, little Shui, don't you think that our mother has changed a little too much? Also, I feel very strange. We have talked about this a long time ago. Why mention it again? Chun Shui said. Previously, when Venerable Han Mei acted strangely, they had talked about it in private, but they did not say why. Chapter 798. Haven't you noticed that Master seems to be a completely different person now? Her state of mind is transcendent, and nothing seems to be able to shake her in the slightest. Especially when I imperceptibly use the Red Dust Heart Sutra on her. Her state of mind is flawless. Who knows how many times stronger than Ling, who is an immortal spirit body that cultivates the soul. In addition, there's a dangerous power in her body. Even I might not be able to resist it. Chun Hao said, "She's that strong?" Chun Shui asked in surprise. Although she had long sensed her mother's abnormality, especially after she stepped into the heaven immortal realm, her strength had increased tremendously. She didn't expect her mother to be as strong as Chun Hao said. Chun Shui knew how strong Chun Hao was after he stepped into the heaven immortal realm. Now, Chun Hao had been in seclusion for 200 years and could step into the middle stage of the heaven immortal realm at any time. How strong was he? But Chun Hao said he might not be able to resist her mother. That was simply too shocking, yes. Think about it carefully. When did Master start to change? Chun Hao asked. I don't know exactly when it started. It should be when we had our first conflict with Moling Takshu by Yin and Hu Mainyang. At that time, Mother was unusually calm. Because of her lack of strength, she even felt a little inferior. She never expressed her opinion on our decisions. But later, when we encountered trouble, Mother was always the calmest one. Moreover, she gave us a deterrent that we couldn't disobey. That should be it. Her change, or awakening, should be because of Hu Mainyang's appearance. Why? Could it be because of the innate Taoist embryo? It should be. Think about it. Master carried you in the womb for over 100 years and made you a half-natural embryo of Taoism. When you became a Daluo Jingxian, you would be a real, natural embryo of Taoism. She did that without telling Father. Now, although we don't know the details of Father and the others, we can basically conclude that they were all real mortals on the Wuji star. Only in this way can we explain why Master has become so unpredictable. And Master insisted on making you a natural embryo of Taoism for a reason. Perhaps it has something to do with the first generation of natural embryos of Misty Rain Pavilion. Perhaps. In these 200 years, Mother has been training with Master Yunwei. I don't know what they did, but now, Master Yunwei has changed a lot. Perhaps Master Yunwei knows something? Forget it. How? It's useless for us to guess. When it's time to tell us, I believe Mother will tell us. Just then, Xiaoji's notification sounded. What is it, Xiaoji? Chun Hao asked with a frown as he opened the seal on the cultivation room of the aircraft. Master Han Mei and Master Yun Wei sent a message. They said that they won't be going with you. They want to train on their own and ask you to be careful. They didn't want the aircraft and said that they'll see you after the primitive mystic realm ends. Don't worry about them and don't make wild guesses. Xiaoji's words made Chun Hao and Chun Shui look at each other in surprise. Could it be that Master knows about our conversation? That shouldn't be. We're communicating through telepathy. Chun Hao said, It seems like you're right. I'm just a product of them. Chun Shui said with a hint of sadness in her heart. As a mother, she couldn't even understand her own daughter. If it was anyone else, they would feel uncomfortable. Although Chun Shui knew that her mother might be doing it for her own good, she still felt wronged. All right, little Shui, don't think too much. Let's merge our minds and share our experiences over the years. Okay, Lu Qinya. In the central mainland, outside the Imperial Jade Pith area, the Protoss encampment area spanned hundreds of thousands of miles. At this moment, countless Protoss cultivators were gathered at the center of a huge mountain range. All of them were shouting the name of the Protoss number 1 elite, Lu Qinya. Lu Qinya was the leader of the Protoss in name. Before he stepped into the primitive mystic realm, he was ranked first among the Protoss. Now that he had been in the primitive mystic realm for close to 300 years, his strength had increased exponentially. He had countless shocking achievements, and he was still recognized as the number 1 elite of the Protoss. But now, there was an unknown cultivator from the Protoss who wanted to challenge Lu Qinya and replace him as the leader of the Protoss in name. 10 days ago, under Lu Qinya's call, the powerful Protoss had sent out 100 masters to compete for the remaining 9 spots in the competition among the 10 galaxies. Today, the top 10 had been decided. But just as Lu Qinya was about to confirm that the 10 of them would represent the Protoss, a Protoss cultivator jumped out and said that Lu Qinya's 10 were not enough to represent the Protoss' true strength. He even challenged Lu Qinya. In everyone's eyes, this was an act of suicide. It was also a provocation to Lu Qinya. Of course, Lu Qinya had no reason to avoid the challenge. But no matter how crazy the crowd was, the final result shocked countless Protoss cultivators. Lu Qinya was defeated. But at this time, something even more unexpected happened. Another person stood up and challenged the mysterious elite who had defeated Lu Qinya, and he succeeded again. This result made it so that the Protoss, who did not need to decide the top 10, had no choice but to let the remaining 9 people, other than Lu Qinya and the 2 mysterious elites, compete for the remaining 7 spots. Almost the same thing happened in the competition for the Zerg spots. However, the publicly recognized number 1 elite of the Zerg, Morrisis, was one of the top 3 elites who had a combat strength of 10 million points before he stepped into the primitive mystic realm. He still managed to defend his position. But there were also 4 or 5 low-profile elites who had stepped into the top 10, squeezing out some elites who were originally recognized as qualified. The strongest mixed race, the Tyrants, had more than 1,000 elites competing for the top 10 spots. Many unknown fellows had become terrifying dark horses, rising in high profile. In just half a month, the news obtained from the 3 major galaxies shocked the other galaxies in the human race, whom Mainyang and the others were at their wits' end. This was because, other than whom Mainyang, there were only 6 human cultivators who were willing to fight. Although these 6 people were also influential figures in the human race, even if they were confident, the onlookers felt that they were like toads propping up a table. Not even 10 people were enough. It was not that the human cultivators were timid or not confident. It was just that there were too few elites. In terms of absolute power, the result of fighting head-on would only be death. Although the Emperor Chalcedony was precious, it was not something that could be exchanged with one's life. Chapter 799. Is there any news from the human race? The number 1 expert of the insect race, Morrisis, was sitting cross-legged on the top of the mountain. His majestic life force was surging as if it was real. Of the 9 strange heads, except for the extremely beautiful human female head in the middle, the other 8 snake heads looked extremely strange. Their tongues flickered with different colors as they looked down at the insect race's intelligence captain, who had just returned and was in charge of the vast universe galaxy. Reporting to Queen Mo Li, we still haven't received any news about Chun Hao and the other members of Aotion. Apart from Humain Yang, there are only 6 people who have volunteered to fight. Although they are quite strong, they are not on the same level as us. There are still 10 days left. Keep a close eye on them. The biggest variable for the human race is Killer Chun Hao and the members of the Proud Heavens. If they can come, we can't let our guard down. They will be as strong as the Tyrants and the Celestials. Don't worry, Queen Maori. Killer Chun Hao and the members of the Proud Heavens are no match for us. Only Humain Yang is worthy of our fight. Humain Yang? Before fighting with me. Morichis, how dare you call yourself the top master of the 10 galaxies? You are just a natural Taoist embryo and mortal heart sutra. Hiss, as Morichi spoke, his body suddenly shone with bright light. Immediately, the 8 snake heads disappeared, leaving only the head of the beautiful woman in the middle. At this moment, he had become an extremely sexy and enchanting beauty. What I really care about is Killer Chun Hao. When he was in the medium stage of the Earth, celestial stage, he could survive Humain Yang. When he stepped into the heaven, celestial stage, he provoked the wrath of the heavens. In the past 200 years, he has disappeared without a trace. I am afraid his strength will increase tremendously. I'm looking forward to it. Morichis murmured, his eyes shining with a strange light. Over the years, she had heard a lot of news about the cultivators who had stepped into the 9 restrictions of celestial sealing. She was looking forward to Chun Hao more than Humain Yang. As long as Killer Chun Hao and the members of the Proud Heavens don't appear, the Celestials, the Tyrants, and the insect race will compete for the top position. The human race only had one Humain Yang. She couldn't change the outcome. Morichis from the Zerg clan, Chu Fengyang from the Tyrants, and Schwarzenen, who is the second strongest, are all masters on par with Humain Yang. These 3 people had the highest combat power before they entered the primitive secret realm. Lu Qinya, have you fought with it before? Nie Fan, who had risen like a dark horse of the God clan and kicked Lu Qinya down from the number 1 expert of the Bug clan, had restrained his aura. No one could see the demeanor of an expert. He stared at the gloomy Lu Qinya and asked, "No. However, let me remind you that you should be worried about God-slaying Chun Hao and Proud Heaven. They'll definitely show up." Lu Qinya said coldly. Clearly, he wasn't convinced by Chu Fengyang's words. 2 months ago, The members of Proud Heaven that we were hunting down disappeared. From the signs, it could be concluded that they all had miniature aircraft, and it was an extremely powerful aircraft. If I'm not mistaken, he's probably going to meet up with murderous god Chun Hao. Furthermore, the first person to discover the Imperial Chalcedony region was Proud Heaven's Blue Peak. From your tone, you seem to be afraid of the human race? Oomph. If I'm not mistaken, you don't even know that god-slaying Chun Hao and his Proud Heaven members are in the 9 forbidden zones, right? I really don't know. If it wasn't for the Imperial Chalcedony, I wouldn't even bother to reveal myself. Then let me tell you, when god-slaying Chun Hao stepped into the sky immortal realm, he provoked the wrath of the gods. Now that he has disappeared for 200 years, how strong do you think he is now? I was still worried about how to deal with him when he shows up. Now, you're the number 1 expert of the God Clan, and the 2 of you are the 2nd and 3rd experts. I'm just 4th. I'm really looking forward to seeing how you guys are going to deal with him. Don't think that I, Lu Qinya, only have that little bit of ability. If it weren't for the big picture, the 3 of you would have joined forces and perished together with me. Farewell. During the duel, I, Lu Qinya, will obey the arrangement. Of course, if you want me to deal with god-slaying Chun Hao, Hun Meinyang, Morichis, and the others, I'll give up my position as the leader of the God Clan. I'll do what I want in my position. Hiss. After Lu Qinya finished speaking, he disappeared from the God Clan's encampment. Miss Hu, we're still short of 3 people. What if Chun Hao and Proud Heaven don't show up? It's the last 3 days. I'm afraid they won't show up, right? Sigh. Miss Hu, if there's no other way, count me in as well. Even if we lose, we have to gather enough people. Otherwise, we'll become the laughingstock of the other galaxies. On a mountain peak, thousands of human experts had gathered. Everyone's face was clouded with worry. Even Hun Meinyang, who sat at the highest point in the center, was frowning. During this period of time, the news from the other galaxies had increased the pressure on the human cultivators. Their only hope was that Proud Heaven would arrive in time. However, there were only 3 days left, and there was still no news from Chun Hao and the others. Count me in as well. At most, I'll die. At least I'll die a glorious death for the human race. God-slaying Chun Hao, Proud Heaven. I thought that they would be the pride of the human race, but at this critical moment, they're standing on their own, and they say they're fighting for the human race? What a joke. To think that I wanted to join Proud Heaven. Even if they don't care about the Imperial Jade Marrow, they shouldn't give up on the honor of the human race. I've told you that they're unreliable. When they were in the 9 seals of immortality, they only helped the human race because they wanted to wash away their sins of killing so many of our top prodigies. Fighting for the human race is just an excuse. When they're faced with the real elites of the foreign tribes and the honor of the human race, they revealed their true colors. If the 4 berserk dragons, Moling Takshu, Baiyin, and the other top prodigies hadn't died at their hands, we wouldn't be in such a difficult situation right now. Unfortunately, I'm not strong enough. If I join them, I'll only embarrass the human race. However, if no one wants to join them, I'll do it. Calm down, everyone, Hun Meinyang said softly. There's still 3 days left. Perhaps they'll show up. Even if they don't, it's possible that Chun Hao doesn't even know what's going on. After all, he's been gone for 200 years. Perhaps he's still in secluded meditation. As for the other members of Proud Heaven, I'm sure you all know that they've spread out to train themselves. Furthermore, they've been on the fringes of the central continent, where they've been fighting the outsiders. Even if they get wind of what's going on, they'll be stopped. It was clear that she was trying to absolve Chun Hao and Proud Heaven of any responsibility. Chapter 800. That's right. Miss Hu is right. If Chun Hao and the Proud Heaven members could come, they'd definitely come. If they don't, I'm sure they have their reasons. Everyone knows that this duel isn't just about the Emperor Chalcedony. It's about the glory of the galaxy. Not to mention the 9 restrictions. The Proud Heaven members have been fighting the foreign races for the past 200 years. We can't deny their contributions to the human race just because they're not here. A female disciple in the middle of the group stood up to support Hu Mainyang and spoke up for Chun Hao. If Chun Hao were here, he'd recognize this girl as the one who'd received an ancient holy sword out of kindness when he first met Coiling Dragon. I don't know if Chun Hao can make it here in time, but I do know that he's never been afraid of foreign experts. If they don't come, I'm willing to fight. A voice suddenly came from the side, drawing everyone's attention. Among the thousands of experts of the human clan, the most eye-catching one was undoubtedly Hu Mainyang, who had gathered all the glory in her body. However, this figure who suddenly stood up and instantly released a surge of sword intent caused countless experts to be astonished. Even Hu Mainyang's eyes lit up slightly. This was a woman with an extremely beautiful figure. She'd changed her appearance and aura. Bailey Ningbing. Someone in the crowd immediately recognized Bailey Ningbing, who'd returned to her original appearance. She and Chun Hao both came from the Boundless Planet and have a deep relationship. I didn't expect it to be her. Her immortal sword intent has reached a terrifying level. She's very strong. No wonder she never showed her true body. It's said that after she fell out with her senior brother Moling Takshu, she disappeared without a trace and never showed her true body. Yes, I also know that it was because she refused to enter the independent space with Moling Takshu that they fell out. At that time, Moling Takshu was so embarrassed that she became angry. She vaguely said that she had an affair with the killing god Chun Hao. I didn't expect her to be so strong now. Other than Hu Mainyang and the members of Proud Heaven, she definitely has the qualifications to participate in the battle. Good. Bailey Ningbing, I'll count you in. If Chun Hao and Proud Heaven's members don't arrive in 3 days, then the 10 of us will go. Hu Mainyang said, we still have a chance to get into the top 5. Just now, there were already 2 people who had clearly stated that they wanted to fight. Adding Bailey Ningbing, the 6 experts that had already been confirmed, and Hu Mainyang, there were exactly 10 of them. In particular, the aura that Bailey Ningbing released made Hu Mainyang feel slightly gratified. Other than the Tyrants, the Zergs, and the Protoss, if they encountered other galaxies, although their chances of winning were not high, it would increase a little. It all depended on their luck. Who dares to trespass into the human territory? Brother, don't misunderstand. I'm a disciple of the human clan. I've just arrived. A figure appeared in front of several guardians of the human clan's territory. Wong. Soon after, a fluctuation was emitted from between his eyebrows. Ed, still the guild leader? Why did you come so late? How should I address you? My surname is Chun, as in Chun from Chun Hao. I've been chased by the cultivators of the mutated tribes. It wasn't easy for me to make it here. Luckily, I didn't miss the duel. CK, another diehard fan of Killing God Chun Hao. Me too. It's a pity that Killing God Chun Hao hasn't appeared yet. It's so disappointing. Sigh. He hasn't appeared yet? Doesn't that mean the human clan is in a miserable state now? The cultivator who had just broken through the restrictive shield and entered the human clan's territory looked a little disappointed and surprised. It's more than miserable. We can't even get 10 people to participate in the duel. A few of them were prepared to sacrifice themselves and decided to fight by propping themselves up on the table. Luckily, one of Killing God Chun Hao's old enemies, or rather, an old flame, revealed an extremely powerful aura yesterday. Now, the human clan isn't necessarily at the bottom. Perhaps there's still a little hope for us to make it into the top 5. Old enemies? Old flame? Who is it? Bailey Ningbing. You don't even know this? To think that you're a die-hard fan of Killing God Chun Hao. Let me tell you, Bailey Ningbing and Chun Hao both came from the Limitless Star. It's rumored that when they were on the Limitless Star, Bailey Ningbing forced the Killing God to be her Tao companion. What kind of person is the Killing God? How could he be forced? Thus, the two of them often fought and quarreled all the way to the vast universe galaxy. Bailey Ningbing even wanted to use the temple's top genius, Moling Takshu, to deal with Chun Hao. She pretended to get close to Moling Takshu, but Moling Takshu couldn't even take advantage of her. He flew into a rage out of humiliation and had a falling out with Bailey Ningbing. In front of many cultivators, he scolded her and killing god Chun Hao. Although this is just a rumor, it's 100% true. Otherwise, how could Moling Takshu have died at the hands of killing god Chun Hao? Cough cough. This rumor is really awesome. A trace of undetectable conflict flashed in the person's eyes as he shook his head and said. He was speechless and couldn't help but sigh. There was no such thing as an airtight wall in the world. This person was none other than Chun Hao, who had just arrived. Of course, let me tell you, there's no news about killing god Chun Hao that I don't know. You know Lan Feng, right? I'm Lan Feng's good brother through life and death. It's a pity that I never had the chance to meet him. Otherwise, I would definitely be a member of AO Tian now. All right, Neo Air, if you don't show off for a day, you're not you. Damn it, Lan Feng's strength is so strong, but he's only at the bottom of AO Tian. What qualifications do you have to join AO Tian? What are you saying? Neo Air, am not strong now, but that doesn't mean I won't be strong in the future. Besides, am I weak? That's not right, brother. Why do you have a soldier's token on you? At this moment, another cultivator looked at the newcomer and asked with a strange expression. Yes, I was originally a soldier. When I was in the 9 Seals of Immortality, there was a conflict with a foreign tribe. A regiment commander died near me. At that time, I was the strongest human cultivator around. Therefore, the regiment commander's token automatically came to me, Chun Hao said casually. Not to mention the regiment commander's token. He even had a regiment commander's token. The tokens of ordinary soldiers of the human race couldn't send out messages on their own. However, the tokens of captains and above could send out fixed messages to the tokens of the surrounding cultivators of the human race. They could also sense the number and distance of captains' tokens around them and use them in battle. Chun Hao casually pulled out a pile of tokens. However, they were all stored in his mind. He could only activate the tokens with official titles, but he couldn't take them out. The cultivator who had sensed the soldier's token on this cultivator was a squad leader. Chapter 801. I knew it. Hearing Chun Hao's explanation, the team leader suddenly understood. Brother, what's the situation with the alien races now? Chun Hao looked at Neo Air, who was more congenial, and asked. You've asked the right person. We are responsible for guarding the area and passing on information. Now, the galaxy with the strongest exposed strength is the Tyrant Galaxy, followed by the insect race and the Protoss. According to the information obtained by the human race, their top experts are respectively. Half an hour later, under Neo Air's incessant chatter, Chun Hao understood some of the situation. When he found that there was no more useful information, he found an excuse and quickly went to the core area of the human race's encampment. It's the last day. Do you really not know? Or do you not want to come? On the mountain peak, in a temporary palace condensed with supernatural power, whom Mainyang murmured. In 200 years, she had been promoted to the peak of the late stage of the Heaven Immortal stage. Her combat strength, combat skills, and the use of the Red Dust Heart Sutra were several times stronger. Her every move, every frown, and every smile seemed to be one with the great Tao. She could definitely be called an invincible Heaven Immortal. Her appearance, figure, and temperament were more sacred and attractive. She was a combination of holiness and seductiveness. It was a contradiction, but it felt very natural. But now, no matter how good Mainyang's willpower was, she couldn't calm down. She waited anxiously. This was not a problem that could be solved by personal strength. No matter how strong one's strength was, the rules of the final battle limited one's performance. In a battle, a person could only fight one battle. No matter who won or lost, the person had to be replaced. Otherwise, let alone the top 5, Mainyang was confident that she could even make it to the top 3. The only thing that could change the situation was Chun Hao and the members of the Proud Heavens. But now, Chun Hao and the members of the Proud Heavens still hadn't appeared. An imperceptible breeze drifted past. Even the powerful Mainyang did not sense it at all. That was because it was just the most ordinary flow of air between heaven and earth. It had completely merged with heaven and earth. She could not sense any abnormalities in its trajectory. What a freak. In the past 200 years, I went into seclusion with all my strength and increased my battle strength by several times. Who would have thought that her improvement would not be any less than mine? Damn it, if I really want to fight with her, I still don't have much of a chance of winning. Chun Hao, who was wearing the form-changing ring that could evolve and had completely merged with the world, was extremely shocked after sensing Hu Meinyang's aura at close range. The rhythm that naturally merged with the great Tao and changed 1,000 times in an instant caused Chun Hao's mind to operate at extreme speed. If he was the slightest bit careless, he would definitely be noticed by Hu Meinyang. This is already the maximum distance. When he was within 300 meters, Chun Hao clearly felt that if he got any closer, he wouldn't be able to hide any longer. This was Hu Meinyang's perception that naturally filled her body. If Hu Meinyang really wanted to investigate, this distance would have been increased by at least 100 times. It was simply impossible to sneak up on her while she was in a state of battle. "Are you afraid of me, so you don't dare to show your face?" Hu Meinyang muttered again. As she spoke, she thought back to when the gate of space-time had been opened in the 9 seals of a mortal sealing, and how Chun Hao had forcibly molested her. Her extremely holy and enchanting face flushed red with anger. "Afraid of you?" The word afraid has never existed in my dictionary. What caused Hu Meinyang's expression to suddenly become extremely shocked was that a familiar voice had actually directly sounded in her ears. In an instant, without any hesitation, Hu Meinyang abruptly moved several hundred meters to the side and turned her head back to look in the direction she had just come from. Who else could it be but Chun Hao? His handsome and callous face had completely retracted his mortal aura. His lips were curved in a proud smile, and his pitch-black eyes were filled with a faint provocation. This caused Hu Meinyang's delicate body to tremble slightly. At this moment, her emotions became extremely complicated. She was shocked that Chun Hao had silently snuck within 100 feet of her, and she was pleasantly surprised by Chun Hao's arrival. There was also the displeasure of being spied on. For a moment, she stared straight at Chun Hao, and she was actually speechless. Chun Hao naturally knew that Hu Meinyang was just nagging at him, but he still took the initiative to speak and reveal himself. "What are you afraid of? If I had sneak attacked you, you would already be lying on the ground obediently, waiting for me to do whatever I wanted." Chun Hao boasted shamelessly, but in Hu Meinyang's ears, she had no choice but to take his words seriously. This was because she truly hadn't sensed a single shred of Chun Hao's aura. "You dare!" Hu Meinyang angrily retorted. "What's there to be afraid of? I gotta slaughter Chun Hao, dare not." Chun Hao raised his sword-like eyebrows, and his eyes flashed with a playful light that looked down on the world as he spoke with a devilish charm. "Phew!" Hu Meinyang took a deep breath and said, "You came here just to argue with Dodo? TCH, I don't have the time, and I'm not interested. There's no need to test me. The Red Dust Heart Sutra couldn't affect me before, and it's even more impossible now. You forcefully suppressed little Tion Fa." Hu Meinyang ignored Chun Hao and asked with a frown, "After 200 years of seclusion, I need to fight a few battles to my heart's content. Let's not talk nonsense. I'm here for the Emperor Jade Essence, and of course for the glory of the human race. However, with the current situation, it's better if Proud Heaven and I don't expose ourselves for now. I need your cooperation." Hu Meinyang frowned slightly, but immediately understood what Chun Hao meant. "All right, I know what to do. They've all snuck into the encampment, right? Don't you know that smart women are very annoying to men? Why do I need to make you like me?" Hu Meinyang raised her chin proudly, puffed out her chest, and stared at Chun Hao. Chun Hao narrowed his eyes and stared at Hu Meinyang's seductive chest and said softly, "Let's have an exchange. The Red Dust Heart Sutra is fine. That's what I promised you. If it's anything else, you'll have to give me something of equal value in exchange." Hu Meinyang said without hesitation. Needless to say, she could guess what Chun Hao wanted to do. Is my 200 years of comprehension enough? Do you think I've been idle for the past 200 years? Comprehension against comprehension. We don't owe each other anything. If you want to comprehend my runes, you'll have to exchange it with your concealment technique, Hu Mainyang said domineeringly. She was very clear that Chun Hao, who was about to trigger little Tian Fa, definitely wanted to comprehend the mysterious runes of her physical body weapon transformation. Concealment technique? Don't even think about it. This is my trump card to counter you. If I let you learn it, won't you turn the world upside down? I'll let you observe my little Tian Fa. If you don't want to exchange it, forget it. It's just a little Tian Fa. Even if your little Tian Fa is very strong, it doesn't mean much to me, unless you promise me that you'll let me experience any Tian Fa in the future. Hu Mainyang was not willing to suffer any losses. Since Chun Hao called himself father, she kept calling him mother. All right, during this time, you're mine. Don't say it so harshly. Aren't you mine? Oomph. While the two of them were talking, they walked together. Without wasting any time, they sat down cross-legged and connected their divine thoughts. Their hearts and minds were as one, and they instantly entered the state of cultivation. At the same time, Hu Mainyang's body shone with a bright light of runes. She was not careless at all. Chapter 802. Hiss, hiss, hiss. The Tao laws roared, and runes flashed. Chun Hao and Hu Mainyang's minds merged, each taking what they needed. Chun Hao was fully focused on comprehending the physical body runes that Hu Mainyang had specially made for him. He grasped the mysteries within, while Hu Mainyang was comprehending the mysteries within Chun Hao's vast mind. Less than a day's time was too short for them, but they had no choice but to stop. Today, the top 100 experts from the 10 major galaxies would begin their battle. Today, 5 galaxies were destined to be eliminated and lose the right to enter the Emperor Jade Essence area. Today, the top experts from the 10 major galaxies would truly appear in front of all the cultivators in the primitive mystic realm and battle it out. This was a competition without the supervision of the judges. Life and death were up to fate. One could give up or admit defeat, but the prerequisite was that one had the chance and ability to do so. Otherwise, no matter who it was, there would be no mercy. This battle was no longer just a battle for the ownership of the Emperor Jade Essence. It also represented the glory of the 10 major galaxies. That was because this was the first fair battle since the start of the primitive mystic realm. It was a battle between the top geniuses. Without a doubt, the situation here will be transmitted to the various galaxies through their own methods. Cultivators needed to gather providence, and so did the various powers. The galaxies and even the universe were no exception, and this was undoubtedly the best opportunity to gather providence. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. The Tyrant's Chaos Galaxy, the Bug Race's King Galaxy, the Deity Race's Divine Realm Galaxy, the Human Race's Vast Universe Galaxy, the Dark Demon Race's Darkness Galaxy, the Winged Race's Flying Sky Galaxy, the Succubus Race's Desire Galaxy, the Elf Race's Nature Galaxy, the Sky Fiend Race's Demon King Galaxy, and the Spirit Race's Spirit Realm Galaxy. Tens of billions of cultivators from the 10 major galaxies gathered, like locusts, toward the Emperor Jade Essence area from all directions under the orders of their respective leaders and top experts. Boom, 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 boom. At this moment, the energy and fighting spirit that was released caused the entire area to turn blood red. Their fighting spirit was overwhelming. Under this kind of overwhelming fighting spirit, not to mention the ordinary cultivators, even the top masters of the 10 major galaxies were shocked. Even if this was a group of ants, if they gathered together, it was enough to annihilate any master. The general trend. This was the legendary pressure that would only appear in the Starfield battlefield. It was formed by gathering the essence, energy, and spirit of countless cultivators. Under this kind of general trend, it was like the soldiers in the army. It was as if they were possessed by gods and devils, and they could unleash unimaginable combat strength. In fact, it was the human heart and destiny. One person might be insignificant, but billions of people were enough to change the world. Sand gathered to form a tower. Rivers converged to form an ocean. Those who were just get more help. Those who are unjust get little help. Everyone's support, invincible. This is the principle. The power of faith of the Buddhist sects was also based on the same principle. After changing his image, Chun Hao, who was mixed in the human army, felt his blood boiling. In the overwhelming general trend, he felt that he was as small as a grain of sand. However, he was a part of it. With endless willpower and battle intent, he seemed to have formed a subtle connection with each cultivator in the human army. It was invisible and intangible, but it really existed. His soul, state of mind, and will seem to be undergoing a vast and magnificent baptism. Deep in thought, he seemed to have comprehended something. Every cell and every drop of blood began to boil. In just a few minutes, Chun Hao fell into an extremely painful torment. The influence of this general trend made his blood boil, and his whole body was about to burn. He wanted to release his essence, energy, and spirit at all costs, but he couldn't. At this moment, once he released it, it meant that he would trigger the divine punishment of a small realm. This was not what he wanted. He could only crazily suppress the desire in his heart. In such a state, Chun Hao was experiencing a battle with the devil in his heart, and this devil was the will of countless human compatriots. Brother, at this time, why are you still hiding? Release yourself to your heart's content. Strengthen the prestige and momentum of the human race, and cheer for the warriors of the human race. This is what we should do. I'm about to break through the realm, but my foundation is not solid. Do you think I want to suppress it? Brother, you're just at the middle stage of the heaven celestial stage. If you break through, so be it. Can you trigger the divine punishment? You won't lose anything. In the heaven celestial stage, it's normal that you can't break through the realm of Daluo Jingxian for thousands of years, or even tens of thousands of years. There's plenty of time to make up for your foundation. That's not the same. In different realms, only when you're in a certain realm can you fully comprehend it. Well, thank you for your reminders, but I have my principles. If I really can't help it, I'll explode. Chun Hao's expression became extremely twisted and painful. After he finished speaking, he didn't dare to be distracted by explaining. You deserve it. You've been in closed-door cultivation for 200 years, and you don't come out to experience it. Now you know how painful it is, right? However, Hu Mainyang, who had been paying attention to Chun Hao, sent him a message to tease him at this time. I don't want to bother with you. If you're envious, just say it. Envious? My foundation is solid, and my state of mind is perfect. I don't need this kind of training that causes internal injuries. You'd better enjoy it alone. If you can't bear it, you can ask me for help. When the time comes, you can give me 1/10 of your share of the Emperor Jade essence. I can help you isolate some of the influence. F*CK. Dream on. I'd rather explode. If I don't care. Almost the same thing happened in the human army. A few cultivators who had changed their appearances were mixed in with the crowd. The reason was simple. Although they hadn't reached the stage where they could suppress their essence, chi, and spirit in order to hide their strength, they had forcibly suppressed at least half of their aura. Therefore, at this time, they had to endure it. Of course, compared to Chun Hao, their endurance was much easier. At least on the surface, they could still be calm and collected. These people were naturally members of the proud heavens. One of them, although half of his aura was concealed, was still terrifying to the surrounding cultivators. This person was none other than Coiling Dragon. At this moment, his body had shrunk to 1/3 of its original size, and he was barely able to take on the appearance of an ordinary person. His primordial beast aura was 99% concealed by the form-changing ring. If Chun Hao hadn't temporarily let him use the form-changing ring, he probably wouldn't have been able to fool the surrounding cultivators. There was no helping it. This fellow's aura was simply too strong, and his mark was too obvious. This is so annoying. Senior brother, why do you have to do this? How great would it be to fight to the end with a bang? It's too painful. Not only do you have to hide your strength at this time, you have to do it in the middle of the battle. This is simply torturing me. Chapter 803. Although Coiling Dragon was not in as much pain as Chun Hao, the torment in his heart was no less than Chen Hao's. This guy was wild and warlike by nature. He had taken out countless treasures to set up an arena for battle. In the whole primitive secret realm and the 10 major galaxies, he was probably the only one who could do such a thing. And now he had to endure it. One could imagine how stifling it was, but he had to listen to Chun Hao's words. And he also knew that this was the wisest thing to do. Otherwise, it would be harder for the human race to get first place than to reach the heavens. First, the foreign race experts who were as strong as Yang were known to be the top expert of the insect race. Morichis, the first and second of the tyrants, Chu Fengyang and Shiwa Xingnan, and Ye Feng of the Protoss. What about those who were unknown? You would never know how many trump cards a real monstrous genius had unless it was a life-and-death battle. Just like Lu Qinye, who had claimed the top position of the Protoss in a high-profile manner, but had been kicked out, who would believe that he did not have a hidden trump card when he dared to challenge the 3 people in front of him. Second, killing God Chun Hao and the members of Ao Tian had long become a thorn in the side of all the cultivators except the human race. If they knew that they would appear at the beginning, it would inevitably lead to strong attacks from the other side's top experts. Every battle would have to be arranged according to their order. Chun Hao was not afraid, but the members of Ao Tian had to be careful. Sometimes the other side would not give you a chance just because you wanted to admit defeat. This was a battle without any mercy. To be able to kill the other side was what every participant wanted to do. Whoosh! Rumble! As the densely packed teams gathered in all directions, their auras surged and collided. Within a radius of 1,000,000 miles, the wind raged and the air exploded. Within a radius of tens of thousands of miles, the sky and the ground were clearly divided into a huge area. The time has come. According to the ranking of the galaxies, I, Chu Feiyang, will be in charge for the time being. Everyone, do you have any objections? Since everyone is silent, it means that you have agreed. Ha! Chi! Chu Feiyang's faint voice resounded in a radius of tens of thousands of miles, clearly passing into the ears of tens of billions of cultivators. Just this cultivation alone was enough to shock the world. As he spoke, he pointed out a finger. In an instant, a stream of light shot towards the center of the huge mountain in the center of a radius of 5,000 miles. Its speed was not fast, but wherever it passed, the energy of heaven and earth madly gathered and was swallowed by that stream of light, causing the aura of the stream of light to become more and more powerful. When it reached the huge mountain, it had already become a finger that was even bigger than the mountain itself. Rumble! Soon after, the mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. Chaos broke through the sky, and brilliant light flickered. It only lasted for a second before calmness was restored. However, it made countless cultivators gasp. Too powerful. It was a full 2,500 miles long, and he had flattened it with a finger. Even the average Daluo Jinxian would find it difficult to do so. The number 1 person in the Tyrants is really terrifying. How terrifying! This was just the tip of the iceberg, and it was already so strong. F***CK. So what if I become the Daluo Jinxian? A monster is a monster. He can even make up for the difference in cultivation level. That finger has swallowed all the gravel, but it still hasn't dissipated. What's going on? Countless people stared blankly at the number 1 expert of the Tyrants, Chu Feiyang, who was 2,500 miles away and had activated the energy of heaven and earth to cut a huge mountain from the middle into a huge platform. 5,500 miles. The first 5 people to reach the peak will choose the galaxies of the remaining 5 people as their opponents in the elimination round according to the order of arrival. However, this distance is too short. The 10 of us will retreat 50,000 miles away. Everyone, get ready. The moment my devouring finger disappears, it will be the signal for us to start. Isn't this fair? Don't worry. You should be able to sense that my divine sense has been cut off. Everyone's reaction time is exactly the same. It can still last for 10 minutes. Don't be too nervous. There's plenty of time to prepare. Ha! Chu Fengyang, your method is unfair. At this moment, the leader of the Dark Demon clan, Tai Jinping, suddenly said coldly, "Oh, it's very fair. What's wrong with it?" Umph. Now everyone knows that the human clan is basically the weakest, but they have Mainyang, the #1 expert. Your method completely shows the speed of the #1 expert of the 10 galaxies. Is it fair? Then do you have a better method? Chu Feiyang raised his eyebrows and said coldly, "There's no arbitration team, and there's no expert of a higher realm presiding. Other than this method, it's easier to control things like drawing lots, right? Besides, the value of the #1 expert has its own value. The rules of the competition itself have already restricted a lot. Otherwise, do you believe that I alone can wipe out the 10 people of the Dark Demon clan? Misu can also do the same, right?" You, the leader of the Dark Demon clan, Tai Jinping, directly vomited blood, but he had no words to refute. "Since you've tacitly agreed that I, Chu Feiyang, will be presiding, then don't be long-winded with me. The strong are not afraid of all challenges. The tyrants will not fight for the top 5. Who dares to choose the tyrants first?" Chu Feiyang said proudly. His voice shook the sky, and he was insufferably arrogant. But in just a few words, countless cultivators of the tyrants were agitated, and their aura suddenly became more magnificent and powerful. The Dark Demon clan was abnormally oppressed. Many people were even dissatisfied with the idiotic behavior of their leader, Tai Jinping. Those who were a little smarter could understand that if Mainyang was the first to arrive on the platform and had the right to choose her opponent first, who would she choose? Naturally, she would choose the Dark Demon clan, which was also at the bottom. This was undoubtedly the best combination. Whether it was for the human clan or the Dark Demon clan, it was also the only chance for them to advance. If any of the other 5 galaxies took the lead and chose the Dark Demon clan, the Dark Demon clan would basically lose all hope of advancing. But no one else said anything, and the leader of the Dark Demon clan said it was unfair. If this was not a retard, what was? "Miss Hu, you must get the #1. "Yes, only by getting the #1 can we have hope of advancing." Countless cultivators of a human clan began to shout. They stared at Hu Mainyang, who had a calm expression and was in perfect harmony with the great Tao of heaven and earth. When the cultivators of the human clan shouted this sentence, they had unknowingly weakened their own aura. But this was the truth. In the human clan, other than Hu Mainyang, the other 9 members of the starting lineup were also backup lineups. Indeed, they did not have any advantage. Today's battle was the only battle. After entering the top 5, they could only honestly ask for the 5th place and get 10% of the Emperor Jade Essence area. Otherwise, it would be a meaningless sacrifice. Mainyang will get the #1. Hu Mainyang's red lips moved slightly, and her ethereal and seductive voice clearly entered everyone's ears. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.